Okay. Hi. How is everyone? Welcome back. Let's do a two. We're on day two. This is our second day, our power day in this best-selling book workshop, downloading our best-selling books. What are downloads? Those are those genius ideas, those moments of clarity, your unique methodology, your brilliance, your big magic that comes in through that imaginal right brain. We pair that with strategy from the left brain. We use AI to fast track things, but not do our creative work for us for all the reasons we talked about yesterday. So we're just thrilled that you're here. So happy that you're back. And we're going to do some exciting stuff today. We're going to be doing three key things. We're going to be looking at the ways that you're going to set your book up to be successful. Success isn't a subjective thing, right? You know what that means for you. It might be how many lives you impact. It might be revenue generated. It might be any number of things. But we're going to talk about how to make your book successful, meaning the craft, like the actual writing itself, and what it's going to take for us to go from where we are now with our books to holding that bestseller in our hand and having it open those doors of opportunity that we talked about yesterday. Okay. So we're going to talk about our book success plan. We're going to build one. Then and we're going to do this in maybe some different order than I'm saying them now. We're going to talk about time, right? How many of you have a concern about the time it will take with all your other obligations to get your book done? If that's a concern, we're going to address that. I'm going to show you my time strategies that have helped me write books every year while running two businesses, while being a mom, while being a wife, while being a citizen in my world, having family, having other obligations, right? And number three, we're going to talk about revenue. We're going to talk about money. So time, money, and success. Does that sound like a fun day with our books? Right? Does that sound good? Because to me, success just isn't about externals. It's about impact. It's about our legacy. It's about bringing forth the work we said we're here to do. Right? So it's S, success, TM, STM. You can put STM in the chat. Success, time, and money is what we're gonna cover today, and I'm super excited to get to do that with you all. So, just thrilled that you're back with us, and all of you watching on the replay. Hello, hello, and you are here in the virtual space with us too. All right, so we're gonna do a little pop quiz just to make sure that we've integrated some of the things we did yesterday, and then we're gonna talk about the actual craft, right? Like making the writing good, even if you aren't trained as a professional writer, because that can get in our way as well. We think, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Some of you are very experienced writers. Some of you may never have focused on writing because you're out doing your incredible craft and mastery in other ways, right? You're doing other things that you've devoted your time to. So we're going to give a MFA in a day, a Master of Fine Arts in a session, and I'm going to show you three things everyone can do, every one of you can do that will make your writing professional and riveting. Okay, so it's going to be fun, right? We're going to have vitamin F today, vitamin fun in our work together. So I want to know how many of you did something since we were together yesterday. If you were in the VIP room or in the main session only, how many of you either did a story bank entry, you worked on your outline, you worked on your press release? So just put me in the chat if you took some action since we last were together yesterday. Awesome. Look at this. Yay. Okay. Way to go. That's amazing. That is absolutely awesome. Congratulations. Okay. Awesome. So now you have taken action. And how did it feel? One word. How did it feel to know that you, week of end of January, when everyone else says, oh, it's too hard to do my book, it's too hard to create my vision and my goals. And you actually, Dawn, you said you started writing on your manuscript and couldn't stop. I love it. Yes, carried on writing VK3. Okay, I love it. Introduction, tune up. Yes, Lori. And then wrote your first chapter. Woo! Sarah, you're feeling unstoppable. Jeff's feeling great. Tiffany's feeling it's inspiring. It feels great. I love it. And KLS, let us know if that's how you like to be addressed or if you have a different way. Otherwise, I'll shout you out with your initials. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. All right. So congratulations. Can we do pats on the back? One for you, one for each other. Good job. Right? We gotta reward ourselves because it is great. And it's very, very easy. Okay, Kiki, great. Um, it's very easy to put other things first. Very, 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 very easy to have everything else, zero out the inbox, take care of something, do this, do it, right? And you guys showed up and did work on your book. So phenomenal job. All right. Now, what did we learn yesterday? See if you can name one of the three things that was in all of the New York Times bestselling books that I analyzed to come up with one of the frameworks yesterday. Okay, so just who remembers something? We talked about there are three parts to the framework, right? Authors talked about the stakes. Yeah, okay, that's you guys got it. All right, so you went to my second question already. So it's fine if you missed yesterday, everybody. No worries. Well, you can watch the replay. So in the SSS formula, okay, let's start with that one. So what were the things that it were in every book? And we used the term the framework of SSS. Yep, the story. It started, they told some version of their origin story, why they're writing the book. Like Batman's parents were killed behind the movie theater. He grew up to fight crime. You are each superheroes leading your person on an adventure because of something, right? So it was your story. Then it was the situation, exactly, which has the stakes involved with it, right? That's the second S. Then we show people the situation. Hey, it's not just me, my experience. This is what's going on in the world. And for likely you, if you're reading it around this topic. And then Heather got it. The solution, Lori got it. The rest of our book, it might be 10 more chapters, 5 more chapters, 20 more chapters, is your solution. When we give people our story, help them understand the situation and that they're not alone and understand what's at stake, and we give them a solution, we are putting ourselves in the space to have the book be a bestseller because people will see the value. They will understand that you know what you're doing, that you have something important to share with them, that you have been where they've been. They understand what's at stake. So you've given them neurologically a why to do your solution the rest of the book, right? So great job. Okay, A plus on the pop quiz. That's amazing. Now, some of you already jumped to this. What did all the authors? So that's what the books all had in them. They all had some version of story, situation, solution. And then what did all the authors, a lot of you already put this in, what did every single author do and have in place in order to have success, right? Yes, they had community, right? They weren't in isolation. They had a family of success, other people who were doing what they wanted to do or a few steps ahead and along with them. They had mentorship, right? And they had a strategy. They had a proven methodology that was going to help support them in their goals. Yep. And they anchored that in that press release, right? Those were those Silicon Valley engineers, Rekha. You guys are amazing. All right. So A plus on the pop quiz. Amazing. Awesome. Okay. Who wants to feel even more confident in the writing itself? Yeah. Like just knowing it's like, yeah, I want this to be good, right? We know good writing when we read it, we can just feel like, oh, this person, I feel like I'm in good hands, right? I feel like this person's like well thought out. This is interesting. So I want to pull back the curtain, right? That's Oz, the big, great and powerful Oz. And then back behind the curtain is like the craft of writing. What do we actually do? What do we actually do when to make the writing riveting, to keep people wanting to turn the page, to earn another 2.9 seconds of attention? What do we actually do? So we're going to do this as a little bit of an interactive game. And I'm going to say and type a sentence into the chat. And I want you just to notice what your mind does with these words. Okay? Just you're a reader, you've all read books, and I'm going to type in a sentence and say it out loud. And I want you just to notice, you can either close your eyes or keep them open. Just notice what your mind does with this. Okay? So I'm going to write in a woman came up to the building. Okay? So just notice a woman came up to the building. So did you see anything? Did you feel anything? Just what information do you have? You wanted her to go inside, Miriam? Okay. right? But we don't know. She just is, she's coming up to the building. We know, what do we know? We know we have a woman. We know she is approaching a building. That's basically all we've got, right? Did your mind do something there? Right? You were able to see, so you filled it in, you filmed, some of you filmed it or pictured it, right? And you had to kind of figure out what kind of, all this stuff. Okay. And you saw someone, Kiki, you felt like she was stressed. Okay. So you had some sort of emotional thing there. Okay. Now see if it's any different if we say the mother raced up to the hospital. Do we see anything different? Do we feel anything differently between number one and two? Okay, Rebecca, you had more feeling in the second one. And why? Ask yourself why. Why did you? There was a sense of urgency. So, what gave us the urgency? What word in there gave us the urgency? Raced, exactly. Right? If we said the woman sauntered to the hospital, do we feel differently? And we might think, oh, maybe she's an administrator, maybe she's just there to drop something off as a delivery. We don't feel like we're not worried for her, right? Whereas if someone's racing and then you have a noun, so that's a verb, okay? The urgency came from the verb, okay? So the came from that verb. Instead of saying came, which is just very generic, we changed it by saying raced. And then we change it again if we say sauntered. The mother sauntered to the hospital. We think, oh, that's interesting. Is maybe she works there. It's not about her child. Like we don't think she's worried about anything, right? If she's sauntering to the hospital, right? So just using instead of woman by adding mother, it changes everything. By saying raced or sauntered, it changes the whole feeling of what's going on. And using building versus hospital. What if we say it like this? The toddler uh, galloped up to the rodeo. Okay, now what are we? Now what are we seeing and feeling? Okay, this is still a person coming to a place, right? Like we had in that very first sentence. Now we're getting, like we see fun, happy, joy. This toddler's galloping. Maybe the toddler's pretending. I don't know if anyone was like me. I was always like pretending I was like either an animal or acting out something. That was just what I would do as a little kid, right? Kids are they're living in their imagination so much, right? The kid's excited. Maybe they're going to see horses and they love horses. So they're galloping and pretending they're a horse, right? We have a sense of place. Do we think we're in, the northern woods in Canada if it's a rodeo? Probably not. We think we're probably maybe somewhere in the South, in the American West, right? So do we see what all we're doing here is the principle one that I want to give them, teach you three things today about making the writing great. And the first principle is specificity. Okay. Specificity versus generality. In specificity, your reader will lean in. In generality, they will zone out. Woman came up to a building. I don't know. I don't care so much. I'm not invested. Specificity makes someone zoom in. Their mind is making a movie. They're seeing pictures. And if you want to go into the neuroscience, what happens when we do the three things I'll teach you, this being the first, is that their brain will light up as if they're there. Even more if the other two things I teach you as if they're actually having this experience. So this is actually being of service to your reader. This is how we create transformation through writing, not just information through writing. Okay. So this is powerful stuff because by choosing specific nouns like the person or the place, specific verbs instead of generic, and then we can get into some adjectives. Okay. So Mark Twain famously said, the difference between a good word and the best word in writing is the difference between a lightning bug, like a little firefly, and lightning. It's pretty powerful, right? Right? So we don't need to like freak out and think, oh my God, it's going to take me a million years to write because I have to think about every single word. But what I want us to do is start just thinking in our minds. In the beginning, you just get something on the page. And then I call this my sentence makeover. I just go through a paragraph, pick one sentence, and say, is there a way I could be more specific that would paint a more vivid picture for the reader, be more engaging, be more informative, right? Because if we have a mother racing to the hospital, we already know a ton about what's going on without having to write a lot versus a toddler galloping to a rodeo or if we have the teenager roared up on the Harley, we're like, ooh, did they steal the motorcycle? Do they have their driver's license? Are they allowed to be on the motorcycle? You know what I mean? Like we're intrigued. We want to read more. We want to know what's going on. Okay. So instead of tree, what kind of tree? If you're talking about, oh, I was welcoming my client, to the office and you're writing a scene about, meeting with one of your clients. And instead of just saying, oh, it was fall, you might say, you know, the leaves had already turned brown on the large oak in the front yard, right? Instead of tree, it's oak tree. Instead of bird, is it an osprey, a hummingbird, an eagle, a hawk? Those are all super different, right? And these will add energy. They will enliven your work. It will be all it is it's not that it's hard. It's just getting ourselves to train ourselves to think about it. And you can start just with one sentence on a page. You don't have to think every single sentence, oh my God. But if we just start to train ourselves to say, hey, I wonder if I could say a more specific word here. Instead of just the wall, what color wall? Right? Was it Pepto-Bismol pink or was it navy blue? Was it temperature, right? Okay, so just specificity. Instead of bird, what kind of bird? Instead of tree, what kind of tree? Instead of car, what kind of car? Is it a Mercedes or a Pinto? Instead of a building, was it a condo? Was it a modern building? Was it art deco? Was it mid-century modern? Instead of couch, what kind of couch? Is it velvet? Is it old nubby mohair? So who feels like this is something you could actually do? Not saying every sentence has to be all, but this is not extra words. It's just training ourselves to say, whenever possible, where could I be specific versus general? So put S for specific if you feel like this is something you're willing to play with a little more in your writing. The first time we're we're just getting the general thing out. That's perfect. But then we can look at it deeper and do a little makeover. Right? And just see. And this is where you don't know it until you start looking. But I bet if you go and look at your favorite authors, they will have used some specific detail. Right? Instead of someone pulled a knife, they pulled a K-bar. That's a military, issued knife, right? That's different. You wanted a Pinto. Darianne, I love it. I love it. That's so good, right? But these, like a car will tell you a lot about maybe the era that you're writing about, someone's social status potentially, depending on, doesn't mean that's true, but it could tell you kind of, do they have wealth or are they, whatever it is, all kinds of things, right? Instead of shoes, is someone wearing ballet flats or boots or what are they wearing? All of these give the reader engagement, they give the reader information, they keep people wanting to keep reading and turning pages. Okay? All right, now, the second technique that we're going to talk about of 3 is to bring in our senses. Okay, so we're already knowing that in our nouns and our verbs, we're going to look for opportunities to be specific versus general. But now we want to think about how can we bring in the senses? This is where the person's brain, if they were on an EEG, that's a brain scan monitor. Some of you, if you've done neurofeedback, you've had that. I've done lots of neurofeedback on my own brain. And so your like the centers of the brain light up as if the person is having the experience that's being described. When we are specific, use sensory detail, and then I'll teach you the third thing in a minute. So what does this look like? Okay. So instead of, what are our senses? Sight, smell, taste, sound, touch. Right? So if I tell you all, If I tell you all a story, I'm going to think of a story someone told me recently. Um, okay, this is really silly, but my it just is what I just I don't I want to do this like spontaneously, so you can just see this doesn't have to be anything you have to think too hard about. So my son is 14. He's a freshman in high school, and he's just this year getting to that age where like he and his friends like get to go do more stuff on their own, like without like parents, there the whole time or whatever. So they went out for a friend's birthday party to a dinner, and it was one of these places that does like a Benihana type place where they are chopping up the food. The chef is kind of performing, chopping the food on a big open grill and flipping the shrimp in the air, and this kind of thing, right? So it's one of these restaurants where it's kind of performative. And my son, I pick him up from the sleepover after this dinner, and how was it? And he says, "Oh my God, we were laughing all night. It was so crazy. We went to, the dinner, and then in the bathroom, there was this man who was in his like 20s, and of course to them that's old, right? And he started lecturing us about, kids these days, and he's some influencer, and he started lecturing us about inclusivity, and he was a bad guy in high school, and he wishes he'd been different. He was telling us to be nice to everyone. It was just this kind of funny thing, and they made up a nickname for this guy. Okay, so if I'm telling you this story, or he's telling me this story, whatever. This is just a kid who's 14 relaying an anecdote of this night at the restaurant that they found hilarious, right? Kind of inside joke for them now. Is there anything different if my son tells me the story like this, or if I relay it to you like this? So it's 6 degrees in Chicago, and the boys go out for their dinner at Benihana. And the chef is wearing his, toque, tall white chef's hat, and they sit at the square table, and the chef's kind of calling out orders, and he's butterflying the shrimp, and the sizzle. They can feel like the grease that's going on this shared grill is just kind of flying up into the air, and the shrimp are flying onto the plate, and they're watching the adults around them kind of start drinking and getting a little weird and loopy, and they go in the bathroom, and there's this guy, and this guy looks like he just rode in with like a motorcycle gang. He's got like tattoos covering half his face and up both arms. And he's just kind of standing in the bathroom, kind of holding his vape pen. And he's like, "Boys, how old are you?" And they're like, "Oh, we're 14. Where do you go to school?" And my son says, "Mom, I didn't want to tell him where we really go to school because we don't know about this guy. So we told him this other school, like their rival school. They're like, we all go to Lane Tech." And he's like, "Yeah, I know Lane Tech." Okay, so I'm just getting going here. Okay, so what's different between when I told you all that my son went to dinner, they're at this kind of shared cooking kind of Japanese restaurant, and they go in the bathroom, and this like guy starts lecturing them, and the second version where I only got to the beginning of the story where I told it a different way? Like, what was there any difference between version one and version two? Okay, so Tiffany you set us up, I set the scene, right? There's a more clear picture. Deb, you could see the first version, and the second version, you could actually feel it. So now let's go a step deeper and see, even though this is just kind of a silly story, right? Um, what made you able to see more and feel more in version two? Just see if there's any specific things you remember that I said, like any actual pieces of data that made you. Yeah, Mary Jo, what when we think, yeah, okay, so Tiffany, there was a sizzle, so we have sound, right? There was the sizzle of this grill where the chef's like throwing oil on this shared grill, and then throwing the shrimp on, and they're crackling. And then we knew it was 6 degrees outside in Chicago in the winter, so it was a cold night. They're kind of inside the warm restaurant, so you've got sort of this contrast. Yeah, Mary Jo, you saw his tattoos on his face, right? You could see his ink on his sleeves and down his face, right? The grease splatter and the sizzles. Okay, so do we see what happened there? In the first one, I just gave you the data, right? I'm like, my son goes to this dinner, this kind of strange intriguing man accosts them in the bathroom and starts lecturing them about being nice to people in high school because he wasn't nice to people and he regrets it, right? Yeah, I'm changing the tone of my voice. Obviously, I'm speaking it versus reading it, but yep, and we're going to get to that, Tiffany. You just tipping us to number three, which is so perfect, right? So what did we have? We had sound, sizzle. We have touch, temperature in the air. We have uh, we have sight, the tattoos and the guy's chef hat, if that registered, or the butterflying, the shrimp. We're kind of seeing little pieces of shrimp, right? We have Benihana instead of just restaurant. We have a name of a restaurant. We have Chicago versus just this could have happened anywhere, right? So we have, and that was just like off the cuff, not even, you know what I mean? But do we all see senses? We all can do this. We all know how to just tune in. What was I feeling, sensing, tasting, touching, smelling? If you're writing about yourself or how we're setting a stage, right? Now, if I wanted to even make that more specific, I could have said, what kind of tattoo? I could have said the colors of the tattoos. I could have given you the nickname. This guy's name they found out later was, oh yeah, he told all the boys. So this is where if I was picking up the story, I'd say, so he leans in, he says, boys, I wasn't a good guy in high school. I want to give you some advice. I want you to call me sensei. Okay, so that's like they're at the Japanese rest. He tells them he wants to call him sensei, and then they look him up later because he's, apparently some influencer, and his name is Trace. So now Sensei Trace is now their new their new guy. This is the guy they're referencing, like, Sensei Trace would say. Well, Sensei Trace would tell us, and it's become this like huge inside joke that they have. So now we're getting Sensei Trace. We have a name of this guy. We can kind of picture this dude, right? He's just probably like had a few and he's like just wanting to like lecture these young bucks in the bathroom and, and yeah, it's invitational, right? So all I'm doing is paying attention to what were the sounds, the sights, the smells. I didn't do smell, which I very well could have in a restaurant, right? You were gonna smell maybe vinegar from the sticky rice, or you're gonna smell the smell of steak or vegetables, that they were cooking on this grill, the smell of the grease, right? So all of this is we all have access to our senses. We can just think about what is sensory. Now, you don't want to go through every time we write and say, what was the taste, touch, smell? So you don't put all of them, but maybe put one or two. When you're thinking about what were the two ones, I don't just try to do it mechanically. I think about what were the things that actually stood out. If I'm writing about an experience that I had with, a client or leading something, if you're writing about your business or, your life, and if you're writing fiction, same thing. You just have to make it up. But what stood out the most, was it something we're seeing? When I wrote about losing our twins, when I went into premature labor, when I wrote about that scene in my first book, what I remember in that hospital room, which was just a rough, brutal day, is they had this ugly, ugly clock on the wall. It was like one of the clocks that would have been in like a high school gym in the 1990s. It was like this old clock that was sort of yellowed, old, manual clock, and all I remember is just this ugly clock and this sort of puce colored paint on the wall. And so I really focused in on the visuals of that room while this terrible thing was unfolding. Right. And so that's what it wasn't really so much about what I was smelling and even though in a hospital you can smell things, antiseptic, all kinds of stuff. But that's like in that moment while we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. That's what I remember, is this clock, this terrible clock. And that, of course, has subtext because it was like the time, of like, oh, time when this event was imminent and going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, it is creepy, Kimberly. Absolutely. They thought it was funny, but it is creepy. And so you could also have this ominous feeling. Why is this older man kind of entrapping these, five kids in the bathroom and lecturing them on whatever, right? So someone might think it's funny and they thought it was funny. Someone else might be like, this is weird. I don't like that this guy is talking to, these kids. So all kinds of ways that we can interpret this, right? So number one, specificity. Number two, sensory. Your readers won't know why, they'll just know they feel like they're with you. They won't know what you're doing. They'll feel like they were there. They won't know that you're using sensory in specific detail. They'll just know they feel a connection to you that's way deeper than they would have if you spoke and wrote in generalities. Who's ready for number three? Three of three. Okay, Tiffany alluded to this. Dialogue. Okay, so we only think of dialogue if we're writing a screenplay or a novel or something, but let the people in your book, even if it's a business leadership book, talk. It's very different to use this silly story. My son would be like, "What are you even doing telling this story?" But it's very different if I said, "Oh, they go in the bathroom and this guy starts lecturing." That was the first version, right? He starts talking to them about being a good guy because he was a bad guy in high school. Okay, that's very different than if I go in and say, "This guy's there with his, tattoos and his vape pen, and he's like, 'Boys, how old are you?'" And if I said, "My son's 14, where do you go to school?" Lane Tech, you know, they're not saying their real school. These kids are smart, they don't want to wait for this guy to find them in case he's not good news, right? I want to tell you something. In high school, I wasn't a good guy. Like, if we hear Sensei Trace talk, it's is that more interesting to you than when I said, "Oh, they went in the bathroom and this guy lectured them"? Who thinks number two is more interesting? To hear Sensei Trace directly talk into this. Yeah, Rebecca, it's not though. I don't think it is I don't feel it's harder to do with nonfiction because there's still humans in our story, right? You're there somewhere, or there's people you're interacting. Like, we can let people talk or think if they're not talking. We can get inside there. So I think that's what's exciting about this. And you can decide, oh, you obviously are willing to tell me to F off anytime if you disagree. But I think it's absolutely available for us in every genre, every kind of writing, because there are usually humans or deities. If you're writing about it, like Conversations with God was a book about talking to God, but like, let God talk instead of have someone paraphrase, God talking. Um, yeah, giving a voice to a framework or lesson. Yeah, dialogue in our own heads, right? So if we this is when people talk about show versus tell. If you hear that, show versus tell is instead of telling, "Oh, they went in the bathroom and this guy lectured them," show them going in the bathroom, show the guy, and then let him talk. Right? So if you're having a flashback and remembering a scene with your parents that imprinted on you, you could let your parents talk in that scene versus saying, "Oh, I had this awful experience once where my mother told me," like one of our clients she's doing her third book now, but her mother wanted her to ride horses when they were young. And she didn't like it. She was scared of it, but she did it to please her mother. And she was, just always, trying to do so well at writing. And she actually did fairly well. And there was a huge competition. And she ended up getting second. And they had a winner's podium. And she got like the silver medal. And and her mother still wasn't proud of her. And this was this awful moment in her life where she realized, like, I'm never going to be good enough, right? On a subconscious level, because even though she did this thing she didn't want to do, and she actually became pretty good at it, and she won an award, like, it still wasn't enough for her mother. Now, think about the difference if our client, when she was writing about this scene, the first time she did it, she said, "And my mother still wasn't good enough for my mother." That's telling the reader. Showing the reader is taking us into that podium. I'm standing there. I feel like this is the day. My mom's finally going to be proud of me. I got my silver medal around my neck, my horse trophy, and I run up to my mother. My braids are flying. My boots are crunching through the gravel on the path. I'm in my riding boots, and I was like, "Mommy, Mommy, I did it." She said, "It wasn't gold." Which one hits the hardest? It wasn't good enough for my mother. We don't feel it. What we feel is this little girl who's just desperate for her mother's approval and finally thinks she's got it. Self-abandoned what she really wants, does what her mom wants, actually succeeds anyone else's definition, right? It's not gold. It says everything about her childhood. She doesn't need to tell us anything else about that relationship, right? We know that this mother is never going to be satisfied because the mother's not satisfied with herself. This kid is gutted because now she's done the thing she doesn't even like to get her mother's approval and she's never going to get it. I know we want to punch the mom. It is. I mean, it's hard for me even to sit with that story because you're like, what's wrong with you? Right? But so much more powerful if that mother delivers that line. And that's just a flashback that she wrote when she was 55 years old. She wasn't like writing about this. So, Rebecca, do you want to unmute and tell us a little more about what tell us a little more about the nonfiction piece because I want to hear. No, because I might have been dismissive and I don't want to be. Okay, no, okay. you're like Sarah, that's not even what I meant. But if you want to unmute and then okay, just tell me because all of you, I want to hear it too because I might make assumptions, I might misinterpret things, so I always want to make sure I don't want anybody. Who else? Does anyone else have a question about this? Yeah, Tiffany.
No, I don't have a question, but Rebecca, I'm so glad you asked that question because every time I think I'm done with the chapter, done with the section, I'm like, oh, instead of telling them what the conference room was like, I could add, I'm not going to add the conversation because I can't
Yeah,
divulge privacy,
sure.
but can make up what we might have been thinking or were thinking and create that as a dialogue instead. So thank you, Rebecca, for chiming in on this. And thank you, Sarah. That was brilliant. I was like, oh, more. This is great.
Yes, these are so when I think about it, I'm not a painter, right? But I think about I've watched those cool videos. Has anyone ever seen the videos on YouTube of Picasso approaching like a canvas? So in the beginning, he gets out like a giant, piece of charcoal or a big brush, and he kind of just paints like the outline of a bull, let's say, or a woman's figure, right? So it's a giant, big brush or instrument, right? And then he might get out some medium-sized brushes and he starts kind of like putting in these bigger like swatches of color. And then he's getting out the fine brushes and he's just adding like all the details, the eyeballs and the things. And so I think of it like the brushes, exactly, Lacey. Broad strokes first. So we're broad stroke, we're just like we tell it. We just do, we tell. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect. But how do we show is going to make the difference between your reader turning the page and saying, ooh, what happens next? What, even if we're describing a business conference or a client session or leadership framework, right? And it's not that we have to be like not that we have to be burdening ourselves like you said putting pressure, but this is not something once you start doing it you're just going to start to become automatic. At the beginning it'll be a little weird, so I want everybody to write a sentence that might go in your book. Okay, let's just write a sentence. We're going to take a minute and just write a sentence that you imagine, like look at your story bank from yesterday if you were here, or just you could even write a generic sentence. Just make one up if you can't think of one that's going to be in your book. Okay, let's just take a moment and try that. And don't try to do any of the stuff we just talked about. Just write a really general, like tell the reader something. Nice. Some of you are putting in the chat you can or don't need to, whatever you want. Okay, and then just put S in the chat when you've got a sentence written down. Cool. Okay, now all you're going to do is do a makeover. So you're going to look at it and just see if there's one place you could be more specific, like look at your nouns and verbs, see if there's any swaps you could make. And or you could look at is there a sensory sight, smell, taste, touch, sound that you could add in? You can make it more than one sentence. And or is there a line of dialogue? There may or may not be in the sentence that you wrote. Okay, so some of you are putting your made over sentences in the chat. It's super cool. If you want to share, go for it. Yeah, Rose, you got the dialogue now coming directly from your mother. He was a mama's boy. Heather, on October 8th, 4:23 p.m., I'm standing naked in the shower. My air conditioner blew up and caught my house on fire. Now we've got a real scene going, right? Yeah. Yeah. Major like catalyst to the drama. Yes. Okay, Sonia, I'm going to read yours now. There were people at the table with you. Mm, we feel that little girl. These are so good. Mary Jo, the full moon tugged me with gravitational fierceness. We had no choice. Yeah, nice, Dawn. You start right out with dialogue, so we put them right in there. Okay, so keep doing. If you finish yours, you can do another sentence. I just want everyone to have another minute to work, try, play around with this a little bit. Good job. Those of you that are sharing in here, these are really cool to see this dialogue, to see some of the specificity, some of the sensory detail. So take a deep breath and give yourself again, pat on the back, give each other some high tens and high fives. Who feels like your writing will improve when you think about these three things? So put me in the chat if you feel like your writing will improve when you think about specificity, sensory detail, and dialogue. Yes, it's so powerful. This alone will separate you from so many books and so much writing just by doing these. And again, we can use this even if we're writing an article, even if we're writing a very, business thing, an academic thing, we still can have these things working for us so that, remember, we're a neuroscience based coaching book writing program, right? This is about not only, training our brain to step into our genius and our mastery, but also activating the mind of the person receiving these words. Yeah, Rebecca, you hadn't been playing around with this. I love it. I just want to read you. I'm reading a book called Creation Lake. I always am reading nonfiction and fiction at the same time. I feel like it's really important just for whatever reason for me. This is just one of those things I've learned about myself. This is Rachel Kushner's book, Creation Lake, which is very strange, really weird novel. And I just want to read to you just an example of okay, this should be the most boring thing in the world. She is describing this is like a sort of undercover freelance spy essentially is the character in this book, and she's in the south of France having to watch this group, this anarchist group, to see if they're going to cause trouble or blow something up or whatever. So all the like first 150 pages of this book so far, like nothing much is happening except she's kind of surveying from afar this group and trying to get some information, and really not a lot's going on. It's riveting writing. I don't even know if I like the story. I just love her writing so much that I'm reading it, and I think it's good. So just picture. So she's sitting. Should be very boring. She's basically watching people in a town where nothing's happening in the south of France, and there's some construction stuff going on. And this is what she says. The waitress came outside to take my order. Okay. That's really general because the waitress isn't the most important thing, right? So she just gives us a very general sentence. The waitress came outside to take my order. The man in the Mao cap, so like General Mao, these are these kind of anarchists that are there. The man in the Mao cap removed from his safari vest what looked to be vaping equipment and squinted into the sun. The woman, so she's watching these two people, a man and a woman. The woman produced from her fanny pouch her own version of vaping equipment, and the two of them began to suck on these elaborate contraptions. Large handheld objects with curves that reminded me of figureheads on the prow of ships. Isn't that great? Now, we didn't get into metaphor and simile, which is like, again, you don't have to necessarily be doing like business books and thought leader books, but you can, and it can be really cool. But the fact that so what do we see? We see these Mao kind of like, anarchist kind of hats. We get this vaping, and she's obviously disdainful, right? She says these elaborate contraptions. We kind of get her disdain for this because of she's calling these elaborate contraptions. We get a fanny pack, a safari vest, so we really kind of see we can picture these people very cinematically. And then large handheld objects with curves that reminded me of figureheads on the prow of ships. Super interesting, right? We're not usually studying some, random household object as like something like the, figureheads on the prow of ships. This tells us a lot about this woman and her levels of observation. This tells us a lot about these two people that are waiting in this square. Kind of, are they up to no good? Are they fine? What's their deal? So I just want to just share that with you just as an example of that could have been the most boring thing. The woman came out to take my order, and I watched these two people to see if they were doing anything. That's the tell. The show is the Mao caps, the safari vests, the fanny pack, these vaping devices that remind her of the figureheads on the prows of ships. Super cool. At least I think it is. I'm a nerd on this stuff. Okay. So just keeping in mind, I can think about senses, I can be a little more specific, and I can let people talk when when they're in the book. That's it. Those three things. Yeah, Lori, exactly. Because when we do this, I think of it like cooking a meal. If I invited you all over and I said, come over and have dinner, and I made you a poached chicken breast and some steamed broccoli, you would get nutrients. Like you would get nourishment. You would, right? You would have been fed. That's kind of like if I tell you the details, right? But if I have you come over and depending on what you like to eat, again, if anyone's a vegetarian, I'm just going to use this chicken as an example. But if instead of poaching the chicken and steaming some broccoli, I make a chicken tikka masala marinade, and I get out the tandoori oven, and I've marinated this chicken for a few days, and I put it in the oven. It has all these cumin and chili and spices and cardamom, and I have jasmine in the rice, and I have this and then on the broccoli I've done like a chili glaze with roasted toasted almonds or something like you're gonna have a very different meal. Deb's coming over, right? I love food, so I'm always thinking about food. So the point is, like, you are gonna have a very different experience of a meal of chicken with some vegetables if if I throw it in the pan for 12 minutes and, steam the broccoli. You're still going to be nourished. You'll still have a healthy meal. It's just not going to taste that great. Right. And that's how books can feel. It's like, okay, I got some information. Okay. Versus like, whoa. Yes. So Lori, like the reader's brain, they have proven this in many, many studies, will actually light up as if they're having the experience with you if you use sensory detail, specificity, and dialogue. And the reason that's so important is because those of you that want to create a relationship with your reader, to create a trust ascension, to have them want to do more things with you, whether that's be your client, come to an event that you're doing, come hear you speak, whatever it is, they want to have that deep connection. They want to taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it, hear it, right? So, way to go for just being willing to play with this. Don't make this drive you crazy. Just tell it first and then go back through and say, oh, where can I show a little more? And how do I show? Oh, yeah, what were the sensory details? What's something a little specific? And could someone talk? That's it. Heather, when the firefighters showed up and the house burst on fire, like, did they say anything? Let those dudes talk, or those women or whoever it was that, was on the fire team. Yeah, cool, Miriam. Okay, well, I'm excited. Do we feel like be proud of ourselves? For now, you're like in the top percentage of writers that will actually bother to do this. And it will make your book riveting. It will make people want to keep turning the pages. It will make them, keep wanting more. And this is what your editor will work with you on. Whoever you're going to have as your editor, this changed your first chapter, Sonia. I love it. Yeah, your story, right? So this is why we want someone else like looking at our work with us to kind of say, oh, it got a little general here. Let's dial it in. What can you tell me? What were you feeling, touching, tasting, smelling, hearing? Okay, cool. I'm so thrilled for you all. Okay, awesome. So we are in the part of today. We said we're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about time. We're going to talk about money. And this is part of how we make our book successful. Yesterday was like the big picture of what's the book's about, who it's for, what are the big picture components. And then like today's sort of how do I also make sure they want to keep reading? And this is one of the ways we do that, right? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep on this idea of how do we set ourselves up for success for both the book itself and what we want to have come from the book, right? And we're going to work on starting to build your success plan. All right. So we're going to and I'm going to use some visuals for this. So do you guys need a 2-minute break? Does anyone Kimberly, you know it? Okay, tell us. All right, I love it. Yeah. I yeah. You can unmute if you want to, or put it in the chat. Yeah. Who are those amazing ladies?
I'm trying to remember if it's Pointer Sisters or
It's I thought so too, and I was like, was it the point? It's the emotions. And so
that's
I thought that would be fun
right.
since we're talking about creating the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they were connected with Earth, Wind, and Fire when they
They
first
were,
came out.
and they were a
Yeah,
Chicago band. Interestingly, where I live now, I grew up in
and
DC, but Chicago band. So yes, I love it. That is amazing. Okay, so we did a little best of my love because we're going to give the best of our love to our books, right? Our books are a love letter to our reader. That's what a great book is, whether we're writing fiction, nonfiction, business, spirituality, leadership, thought leader, memoir. It is a love letter. And so we're going to cook them a great meal. We're going to let their brain have the experience of transformation that we're describing that either happened to us or, with the others that are involved in our book, and they are going to have a transformation. And when we put the other pieces we're going to talk about today together, then they're also going to be able to become a participant, not just a reader, right? They're going to go from reading the book to actually living the work and doing more work with you, which is super, super exciting. Okay. So, what we're going to do now is start building out your success plan. We talked about a little bit of this yesterday. We did a pop quiz on it earlier. Some of you are here for the first time today, and we're going to watch the replay of yesterday. So, you'll just, go right along with us and we'll review that piece. All right. So, we're going to talk about your success plan, and what it's going to take to go from where we are now to where we are with a finished book in our hands. Let's do a little chart. 1 to 100 scale. One is I just this week am thinking, I came here to just think about writing a book. Like this is my very first time even like thinking about my idea. And then 100 is I've already finished, it's revised, my book's already published. Like I'm really here just to kind of learn some fine tuning things. So just do a scale. This is not about where you are in comparison to anyone else. It's just so you know kind of where you are in your project. Okay, so Rose, you're just about done. Tiffany, you're right there at 50. And Anna, you're 20, Lacey, Heather 55, Lori 25, say around 50, 70, 10. There's no good or better place to be. We just kind of want to know like where we are now, what we need from here. So 25%. Yeah, it's good to just get grounded and anchored in our like where are we on if we were climbing Everest, right? There's like base camp 1. When I've been writing this new book. I when I finish each draft, I think of that as I got to the next base camp. I got to the next part of the mountain, right? And I know that the ultimate summit is where, yes, here's my finished book, which will happen sometime in hopefully the very beginning of March of this year. I've got to get one more round of edits back from my editor. Okay. So each time my husband's like, oh, do you feel so good on January 2nd when I turned in the second draft? And I was like, I got to the next base camp. Like I do feel good, but I'm also still on this mountain. Right. So it's just kind of knowing, just kind of, yeah. And Mary Jo, you're fine tuning for a relaunch. Okay. Awesome. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to look at this on screen and same deal as yesterday. Just let me know because sometimes Zoom is weird. If you could thumb up, thank you, Tiffany. Here we're going to start, really building a more specific plan you're going to build out. Each of you are going to build your success plan and what you want to do from here. If you're not already at 100% or over to go from where you are to where you want to be. Okay. Remember yesterday we talked about the authors that I went and read about. I took 100 authors that had been really impactful. They'd written best-selling books that had changed lives, that had made a tremendous impact, that had sold tons of copies. Like, what did all of them do? They all had a proven strategy and system of some kind. They had mentorship and they had community, right? And when I researched this more, you all might know this too, that the 5 people or groups with whom we spend the most time will determine everything in our life. It's kind of uncanny, actually. It'll determine the impact we make in the world, our income, how much revenue we have, whatever success looks like to us, even our health and how long we live. Just put 5 if you've heard that statistic. There's been a lot of studies on this, so you may well have known this for a long time. But isn't that wild that the 5 people or groups with whom we spend the most time, and again, it doesn't mean we get rid of people, in our lives that we love. It's just, are we in the groups so that we are in that? We talked about, being in the room with virtual room, literal room, so we make sure that that's kind of where we're playing, right? And even more astonishing was another study I read that, the people who worked with a mentor who could see a bigger vision for them or were in a community that were working on, the kind of projects and goals that they were wanting to do achieved 500% more results. It's not small. That's a huge number. Okay. So this is what really convinced me that I needed to prioritize this piece. Okay. So we talked about we have a family of origin where we were born into. Sometimes we make a family of choice that might be the same as that or different than that. But this family of success, that's that 5 groups and people with whom we spend the most time. That's having that strategy, mentorship, and community that we need. So what I want to make sure each of you decide this week is, what are you going to use for that strategy, that mentorship, and that community? Right. Some of you are going to be working with us. Some of you already are. You're all invited to apply to work with us if you would like to. But this is important. You're going to need this no matter what, right? So what exactly do we need? What exactly do we need to go from here to where we want to be? This is the question I started to ask myself after I'd spent all those years wanting to be a writer, wanting to have successful books, wanting to be prolific, wanting to pay that gift forward of writing books that were in the airport bookstore when someone needed them. But I don't know how to get there, right? I was in that gap that we talked about yesterday. So what we need is going to depend on the doors we want the book to open. Right? Remember, we talked about the doors yesterday, speaking, making strategic partnerships, inspiring people and changing lives, having attracting revenue and clients, right? If you were here yesterday, we looked at the 7 doors of opportunity and you defined if you were interested in your book opening one of those doors, many of those doors. These are a lot of our clients the doors that they wanted their books to open, right? So for example, if your goal your sole goal is to educate and inspire people with your book, you're going to want a great editor. Right? You're going to want you're going to want someone who's a professional. The best people, Jeff and I were talking about this yesterday, right? When people identify that a child or an adult is really, really, really talented, like they're either, a Mensa genius, or they're a virtuoso, they could be a virtuoso musician, or they have some kind of incredible ability academically or athletically or artistically, right? The first thing the first thing that happens is not they go, oh, this kid's already a genius, good to go. What is the first thing that parent who identifies it or the teacher that identifies it does? Like, as soon as they define someone is capable of greatness, what's the first thing that they make sure that they get that kid? And if you've watched movies or biographies or read, yeah, um, they get them a coach. They get them a teacher. They get the best teacher. They go, forget this local high school teacher. We got to bring in like some college professor. They get them a mentor or a coach. Or this is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I have to have help. No, the best people in the world get the best coaches in the world, or the best mentors in the world. You want your kid to be an Olympic athlete, you're going to find the best freaking coach there is. You want, or an adult like, Tiger Woods. Oh my God, he's so much potential. You don't just say, oh, good, let him do his thing. No, hell no. They get a team of coaches. Right? So this is the best writers in the entire world. Whoever you think of as an absolute genius, whether it's, Faulkner or Hemingway or Maya Angelou, or, pick your person that you think is, just like an incredible genius. They got the best editor or, mentor that they could to make that work great. And if you ever want to see something insane, read The Art of the Edit by Susan Bell, because they show you uh, F. Scott Fitzgerald. They show you like a draft of The Great Gatsby, like a couple pages, and then they show you what the editor did with that person, and then where it became with the book. That if you read The Great Gatsby ever in school or for fun, it is night and day. F. Scott Fitzgerald did not crank out that prose on his own. Okay. This isn't about someone, having a weakness. It's about when you are good, when you want to go good to great, this is what you do. Okay. So if your goal is educate and inspire, you're going to want a great editor, which is going to be like around $6,000, like just so you can kind of get that in your head. Yes. Can you find someone on Fiverr who says they can edit? Sure. But if if that's your goal is like, I just want to really make an impact, then you're going to want to have that person. Okay. This is now, if you want to write, speak, scale, if you want to do anything beyond educate and inspire with your book, then there might be some other things that you are going to need, right? Let's say you also want that book to be and educate and inspire people, but you want it to be a bestseller because you want enough people to buy it, which is bestseller is just volume of books. So then you're going to need someone to teach you the bestseller strategies, right? Which could be 2K to 100,000. I mean, people have all kinds of rates for this. I'm just giving you like lower end of the industry. Okay, so I want you to be building your checklist based on the doors you want your book to open. If your goal is to educate, inspire, also be a bestseller, and you also go out and do speaking, podcasts, be a guest expert in the media, then you'll still want the editor and you'll need the bestseller strategy, but you're also going to need how to do that. How do you position yourself as a speaker? How do you reach out for speaking? How do you have a strategy to get selected for speaking? What do you charge for speaking? And speaking programs are going to run you $8,000 to $30,000 depending on who you train with and all of those kinds of things. Okay, so some of you want that door to be open, some of you don't care. All right, so you're building your success plan. All right. If you also want revenue generation and client attraction with your book, then you can't rely on a book editor to teach you that because they don't know business. They don't know entrepreneur. They're there, just look at the words and make them as great as they can, right? So you're going to need some kind of business strategy, business coaching, some kind of book funnel, like we talked about. You're going to show you today book portals when we talk about revenue generation. And then you're talking about people charge a lot, an incredible amount for this, usually like 50K or more to get those things all, to understand the structures of them, how to work them, how to work those strategies. Okay. And if you're also interested in that, like being positioned as the industry leader, that kind of brand, and having strategic partnerships with other leaders, then you're going to make sure you're going to be in some kind of community, mastermind, something like that, which those run usually 20K or more. I've paid a lot more for them, but that's your kind of lower end of the spectrum. Okay, so these are the kind of things, this is the kind of investment that is required for these different pieces. Some of you have these pieces in place, some of you don't. It just did that. My LinkedIn ghost, my LinkedIn ghost struck again. All right, so let me get back to where we were. All right, so these are just some of the things you want to be thinking about. What is it going, what are the doors you want your book to open? And starting to build this checklist. So when I was doing it, I was in all of the above. So how many of you remind me who in the room like wants the all of the above doors open? You want to yes, educate, inspire. You also want to speak. You also want to have, industry leadership. You want to impact and change lives in that way. You want to generate revenue, client attract. Yeah, a lot of us. So that's definitely been my path, right? Eventually, Lacey, yeah, eventually, right? Okay, so what happened for me is it took me 10 years and $80,000, which was just really long and really pricey and all the things. And I was committed, as you all know, a book saved my life. So I said I will spend the rest of my life paying that gift forward by writing my own books. And then when I was able to do that, and that took me to all these exciting places and Oprah and the media and the New York Times and all that stuff, I said I'm going to dedicate my professional work to also helping other people do these things. Okay. So, how do we make it less? Right. And we worked really, really hard in our business over the last 10 years to see how we can make this take less time and cost less money, because that is not a number anyone wants to spend on the time or the money, right? So that is what created the 90-day bestseller, which again, you are all invited to apply for and join us in. Those of you that are really serious about doing this, you're like, I am going to do my book. I am going to finish it this year. I am going to go all the way with my book. That's why we created this, because we didn't want it to take 10 years and $80,000, right? So every one of you, some of you messaged us last night and said, tell me more about this. And those of you that applied, so that you can see, a little more detail, right? So every one of you, when we do this is what you're either going to look for, or you can come and work with our team. So everyone has their own both writing coach and professional editor. We have trained our team to be both of those things, because I didn't like working with just an editor who would just send me back comments on a page. I am a sensitive person. I also like to be supported in a holistic way. We talked about this in the VIP room. And so this is about you, your book, your timeline. If you're like, I want to do it in 90 days, great. If you want to take 6 months, great. This is about you and having that professional support that Audrey and Chris were talking about yesterday, someone who's reading every word, who's coaching you and professionally editing your manuscript. Okay, so it's really, really, really important. And then we have, of course, those of you that like to, while you're working out and doing things, just be thinking about these craft elements we talked about today, sensory detail, having some more training on that, having mindset training, right? Then you've got that to reinforce between those sessions, keeping us motivated and inspired. I believe so far we're the only brain science-based coaching program that we know of. So we're working on the subconscious level, the level of identity, the level of motivation, habit change, all of it's built in, right? And then we have Amy built this. So everyone say hi to Amy and thank you. Amy built an accountability system that we'll talk about when we get into our time strategies today. So we're not thinking, oh my God, I have to write this long, big book. It's Wednesday. I'm writing 3 pages. So we will break down the book so that we know, yeah, Jane, your editor and your writing coach are the same person. Yep, exactly. Because Jane, you're already working with us, right? So we trained our team. I did not want to just hire editors. I wanted to hire trauma-informed, amazing coaching, writing coaches that were also professional editors. They have to be both things to be on our team. So it's really, really important. Yeah. Okay. So this is where you're going to not have to think about eat the elephant one bite at a time. Just what do I have to do this week? What am I doing today? Okay. So we got it down to $15,000 to do it. Okay. So not 80,000. We got it down to 15. And you guys, because you're here at this event, in this workshop, we do special things when you've already come here and done the workshop, then it's only 6,000. Okay. So instead of 15,000, which we, sort of gotten it down to, it's 6,000. All right. So that's just special because you're doing this workshop. And you're going to be able to decide your timeline on your book, have the editor, have the course, have the tracker, have our team, have our whole system. So it's the community, it's the mentorship, but it's also the high converting strategies, because when we go to a regular book editor, even a writing coach, they don't know anything about the ROI and the business. Okay. So you can also, for those of you that are the all of the above people, then we created the Monetize Your Book Club. So you have a year of ongoing support beyond just the book. Okay. So you can add in the club, where that's where we're doing all the stuff around how do you launch your book? It's the book, and then what? I wrote a book, and now what? Right? So that's where we're together. That's where you have a community, you're networking, you're learning about how to do the speaking pitch, how to do the media pitches, how to get a book sponsor if you want to do a book event or a book tour. How do you have the book go out and find the people you're here to serve? How do you build an audience for your book? How do you attract clients with your book, right? So yeah, it's so important. It's so important because so many people write the book, spend all the money, all the time, and the average book sells under 50 copies. Okay. 200 if you're really like doing some stuff for your launch, putting your book up on Amazon by yourself with no strategy, it's like under 50 copies. It's like your people, your friends and family. And that's not okay. So we wanted to have a space to make daily sales with our books, to attract people with our books, to make daily impact with our books. So that's where we have the networking and monthly strategy, and we have templates. It's like, just do this. Amy and I've even worked on building AI bots to write your pitches for you, right? So it's like opening those doors. All right. So it's really, really important to me. So if you want to do both, because a lot of people that work with us do the 90-day bestseller, again, you can customize your timeline. And then they add in the club. So you have a whole year of, I wrote my book, now what? Okay. So this is normally for both things $20,000, and you guys get to do it for 7. You can just do the book on its own, or you can do them together for 7. And so that is special because you came here, because it's January, because the world's crazy, because 10 years and 80,000 is just too long. Okay. So it's really, really important that, to me, that if you're here and you said, yes, you're going to do this, that you have what you need. And I just have heard so many crushing stories from people who, had an editor, but they didn't know how to do the ROI, and they didn't know, yeah, Michelle, you can just give people the application link like we did yesterday, so you can read a little more about it and then do that. That's perfect. Yeah. Or you can go straight to that page. All right. So if you're in the VIP room later today, we can talk more about this. You can set up a time if you want to just have more information, see how to make it work. You can break that up into payments. Doesn't have to be all at once. If you want to talk about that, Amy will share her link, so you can make sure to have a private conversation. Some of you I know are already scheduled calls with me or with Amy. You're good. You don't need to do anything else. Yeah, Tiffany, you got to have the ROI, because you do the book, but how do you know it's going to do something for you? Right. And that's why we built the club. Okay. So just be thinking about, all of you will need to build your success plan. You all need a proven strategy, mentorship, and community. And we're super excited if you want to work with us. We're incredibly honored. And this work that we do it's not a good idea. I wouldn't apply if you're like, I just want to kind of write a book for fun. I want to write a book for family and friends. Those are beautiful things, and you absolutely do them. And there's plenty of people who will teach you that. But if you are writing a mission-driven book, if you are writing a book that you want not only to say that you did it, like your bucket list, but you want it to be transformational, you want it to create relationship, you want it to create a trust ascension, you want it to open those doors, you want to know how to make sure you leverage the book for all the things and make the contribution you want to make, that's really who we are best suited to support. And then we are really excited to support you. Okay. So happy to answer more questions on that later. We're going to go through the revenue generating, because then you'll know how even to make the investment in your success plan, right? Yeah. And Amy's absolutely phenomenal, and people pay Amy a lot of money to have a conversation. So this is our gift to you. There's just having a discussion to see if you want to do it, need to figure out the financial piece, anything at all, those kind of questions, you can definitely set up a call. Okay. And if you've already scheduled with Amy or with me for later, then don't worry about doing anything right now. Okay. So just wanted you, a lot of you wrote in and asked questions about how much is it? What does it include? Whatever. So I wanted to walk us through that. And if you're just joining us today, these are the things you're going to want to make sure you think about. Because we don't want you to do what I did and what so many of us did is we went and like, oh, I hired an editor, but like I had no plan. And the book didn't do anything because I didn't know how to put the other pieces together. All right. Awesome. And we do have so far 100% success rate. Everyone who does every single step we recommend, everyone finishes, publishes, and has hit the bestseller list with their book. We teach the speaking stuff separately. Okay. All right. So this is where we're bringing entrepreneurship to publishing because right now publishing is a very Jurassic industry and it makes me crazy and sad and upset. And so I needed to stop complaining and do something about it. So we're doing it together as a community. All right. Awesome. So if you have any questions on that, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to move now because we're already talking now. We said we're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about time and we're going to talk about money today. How do we generate the revenue to both invest in our book and continue having it? So this is kind of a little glimpse of what, some of the things that we even do in the Monetize Your Book Club that helped all of our clients. We're up in the Times Square billboards and doing these really exciting things. All right. And we'll keep that special investment rate open until Friday at 5, this Friday at 5. Okay. So monetizing our books, right? How do we put a dollar sign or the letter R for revenue for those of you that want to have your book generate income? You want your book to be able to return on investment. You want to have a plan while you inspire and impact and change lives and transform the world to have that generate income. Yes. Yes. And I want that for all of you. It's a personal mission of mine. All right. So we're going to talk about generating 6 to 7 figures. That's $100,000 to $1 million, kind of using the book as a portal, a book as an entryway into those types of finances. And I'm going to show you the things that I've done, that I've coached now many thousands of people on this part. Some people even come, they already have a book and just need these pieces. Okay. So this is something really cool to think about. Have you all heard of the categories of buyers? So what this means is that in the marketplace in general, 3% of people at any given time are immediately ready to go today. It's like meaning they're out like how many, think to yourself, you can kind of think about yourself as someone who is a consumer. Is there anything right now that as soon as you find it, if whether it's a pair of shoes, you need to go make a dentist appointment, you move cities, you got to find a new dentist. Like as soon as you find the right thing or person, you're going to do it. I don't know who came up with this originally, Tiffany. I've heard these stats in a few places, so they've probably all been not attributed properly. So if Eugene Schwartz did this, then I wanna credit him. So who has something today? Put in the chat something today that you know the minute you find it, you're investing in it. It's like as soon as I figure out like the best place to take my dog for grooming, like I'm going to go there. Or I'm when I figure out like the perfect place to host my friend's birthday party, I'm going to, put down a deposit and do that. So just see if there's anything in your world right now that you are, the minute you find it, you are purchasing that thing. And see if anything comes to mind. May or may not. And just notice if there is. Okay. So yeah, Miriam, you were like, I'm searching for my book solution, and you did because you're doing 90-day bestseller in the club. I love it. Absolutely. Okay. So you were ready to go though, because you'd been looking for that, or you might have been. Okay. Now, 20 to 26% of people at any given time are in what's called actively seeking a solution. So actively seeking a solution is like, hey, I know, like this was me a few months ago. We had moved into a new house like 2 years ago. And my husband and I realized in the fall that we had never updated our will and our trust, like our estate planning documents with our new house. And that's a problem because we had our old house on our documentation. So that would have been a real legal issue. So we did not feel like going to have a estate planning meeting with a lawyer that day, but we made a commitment to ourselves that by the end of the year, we were going to figure out, because our person that did our initial will and trust retired. So we didn't have the same person we could work with. She closed her firm, she retired. So we had to find a new will and trust estate planning family attorney. So that was in like for the fall, we were in category 2. We just knew we needed to do it. We knew we were going to do it by the end of the year. It wasn't today, but it was like actively seeking a solution. I was asking people who they worked with in Illinois that they liked. Okay. 20 to 24% of people at any given time are said to be challenge aware. So that's like, oh, at some point I'm going to have to deal with that. At some point I got to figure out school for my kid in 2 years, or I'm going to have to figure out, like at some point I know I'm getting to that age where I'm supposed to go get a bone density scan, but like I don't have to do it right. And at some point I gotta like it's on your radar, right? And you're not really looking actively, you're not interviewing anyone, you're not like, here's my card, please help, but you just know it's coming. And then 45% ish or whatever's left over is like it's not on the radar. If someone's marketing to parents and you're not a parent, not paying attention to it. Someone's marketing about dog products, you don't have a dog, it's off your radar. But here's why books are so cool. We know that a book can be processed, a book cover can be processed by the brain in 1.8 seconds. And actually, a book will attract buyers from all 4 categories. And here's why. People who are actively seeking a solution, desperate, please help me with my leadership problem, my team, my parenting, my health, my money, whatever it is, if they see your book, they see your name in 1.8 seconds, oh, thank God. I'm going to grab this book. If I think this person knows what they're doing, I can't wait to sign up for their service, right? It will address the 20 to 26% of people who are actively seeking a solution because like, ooh, okay, I just saw Tiffany's book and I'm really looking for this leadership development. So I'm gonna check this out, right? So that's gonna build that trust ascension and let me know if Tiffany's my person. Okay. The third group of people who are challenge aware, it bumps them often up into actively seeking solution or ready to buy because they're like, oh God, I do need to deal with the whatever it is thing around my finances, my health, my relationships, my whatever it is. So they're like, it's like sometimes seeing your book in 1.8 seconds bumps them up into actively seeking the solution or like, let me just go ahead and do this. But here's what's so fascinating about a book. The 45% of people that aren't, you know, thinking about your thing because they don't need it, know people who need it. They know people who need it. So they might say, oh man, I just saw Kimberly's book and I've got to send this to my sister. I've got to get this from my client who's working on this. I've got to get Rebecca's book because my friend is just like, this is exactly what she needs. So the book will still create sales for you in that 4th category of buyer because someone's like, I have often given books to people and then they've hired the person who wrote the book. Many, many times that's happened. In fact, it's a way I can make a recommendation without feeling like I'm matchmaking. Like, hey, look, just read their book, see if you like it. And then you could, pursue if that's a consultant or a person or a health nutritionist or whatever it is. Okay, so put 4B in the chat if this makes some sense or this is intriguing to you, if this isn't something you've studied in depth, that there are always people are falling into 4 categories around what you do at any given time. And a book is one of the only things, not the only, but one of the only, that can actually address and serve people in all 4 categories, which is really exciting if we're going to spend the time and make the investment to write a book. Okay. Now, when we think about creating revenue through our book, the first day, yesterday, we talked about how if you have a coaching program, a talk, a podcast, a methodology, a process, you can turn that into a book. But there's an infinity loop here because you can also turn a book into every one of those things and have people invest with you to do them. So you can turn a book that you write into a course, a coaching program, a membership or community, a retreat or a conference, a podcast, a keynote talk, and certainly straight up book sales. So it can go either way. We can take something we already do and make it into a book, or we can take our book and make it into something new that we want to create. And we teach this in the Monetize Your Book Club, but then you create book bundles. And this is where a lot of our clients are doing the 6 and multi-6 and 7 figures because it's book plus course, it's book plus retreat, it's book plus workshop, it's book plus speaking, keynote speaking, it's book plus corporate consulting. Okay. So this is really, really, really powerful to decide, what way do you want it to come? Now, remember our thought leader book we talked about yesterday, the high converting thought leader book doesn't just leave it to chance for someone to figure us out, look up us online, and what else do they do? We embed interactive opportunities so that we can invite people to a course, program, membership, community, conference, coaching, offer, keynotes, talk, or book sale, right? We don't leave that to chance, but how don't we leave it to chance? What is actually the mechanism? So that's what I want to show you now and walk you through, right? Because this is really important. This is the difference between ROI on a book and not ROI on a book in many cases. Okay? So what are the kinds of interactive resources you might put in your book? It depends what kind of book you're writing and what kind of expertise you have. You could do an assessment or a quiz. You would still put the questions in your book, but I'll show you exactly the wording to use, but you can then draw people to say, if you want, customized results or you want your personal report, click here. It could be a QR code, a link, and then the person would go and do an assessment or quiz. And then guess what? You get to be in a relationship with them. Because when someone buys your book, there's no way, it's one way, right? But when someone opts in, right? Meaning they give their name and email. It's a free resource, but now you're in a relationship. You can check up on them. I'm so excited you're reading the book. I'm so happy you downloaded the recipe. Did you try it? Did you make it? It can be recipes, a template, a workbook, not in the book material, a ticket to an event. Many, 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 many. There's so many things we've coached our clients on over the years. All right. You can think which one makes sense. Do you have guided meditations or visualizations in your book? So let's look at what this actually can look like. So profit first. How many of you put PF in the chat if you've heard of or read this book? Okay, this was a very, very, very successful, huge New York Times bestseller. Incredible. I created an empire out of this book by Mike Michalowicz. And in this book, he gives you an assessment, like a profitability assessment for your business. It's a book about how entrepreneurs typically don't make any money. They make money, they don't keep any money. So he helps them become profitable. So he gives them this opportunity. You can just answer the questions in the book, but if you take his quiz, he's going to send you a personal report. And you're going to get your own like analysis based on and some feedback and some different things, right? And then guess what happens? It's a free quiz, but what do you give? Put in the chat. What do you have to do if you're going to take a quiz, an assessment, get a recipe, get a workbook? Typically, what do you need to do? Yes, you usually give your name and email. And what does that mean that the person who you gave your email and name to can do? They can email you, right? So one of our clients, Jennifer Luddington, she really wanted to build her email list and then create new clients, attract ideal clients. So she didn't want to do a quiz or assessment. She created this dare. So it was like, if you gave your name and email, you got this daily dare that you got to do to kind of break you out of your patterns, to give you more confidence, to get you, to get you out of the fear of failure. She grew her email list by 30% during the book's pre-order just by offering this option. That created 30% more potential clients. And then she she doubled her business. Okay. So it's super, super powerful. You might not want to do a quiz or assessment or like send them something. Mel Robbins in the 5-second rule, she said, hey, you can read this book, of course, but if you want me to come in your inbox every day and kick your ass and tell you to get out of bed and count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go do something, then, put your name and email here. And I was like, I'd like Mel Robbins to be in my inbox every day. She's fun. And so I gave them my name and email. I knew I was going to get their, sales emails. That's great. I was happy to do it. Right? David Goggins wrote You Can't Hurt Me. So he had a very successful book, but he put like not in the book content. So you could go to the QR code or the hyperlink and you could watch these videos, him talking to his ghostwriter, stuff that wasn't in the book, really inspiring and powerful stuff that you could then, get to once you, again, for free, but you give your name and email. Okay, maybe you do an event. Denise Duffield Thomas did an event. She offered people the chance to do a little assessment, discover the 7 money blocks that keep you undercharging, over delivering, from earning what you're worth. Click here for instant access. And then she invited people to an online event that she does. So those of you that do or want to do an event could think about that being a way that people come from your book. So to get some ideas going, again, we coach on this in the Monetize Your Book Club. We have a whole training on developing this resource. But to give you some thoughts here, where do your people get stuck? What do they complain about? What's their number one goal? Can you give them a little piece of that goal? What would be a win for them? These are the same things we talked about at the very beginning of yesterday about helping people solve a problem or achieve a dream. What doesn't work well is like, get the whole PDF of my whole book. These tend to work well when they're very specific, right? Give people like a very specific thing. All right. So I worked with a nutritionist at one point, and she had 12,000 people 12,000 people opted in because she found out that where her people got stuck, they'd be doing fine. They kind of cleansed their house of foods that weren't good for them, and they were on track. But anytime they had to travel, it just went to hell. You know, if they had to go to a business conference, a wedding, a cruise, like they completely lost their ability to stay on their food plan. It was a disaster. It was really hard for them to get back on. So she created 5 days to eating healthy anywhere. A 5 day template anywhere you go. So if like you have to go to McDonald's, here's what you're going to order. If you're at a cruise buffet, here's how you're going to work that buffet line. Here's how, you know what I mean? Like she helped them, and she 12,000 people said, yes, please. You did that for your clients, Sonia? Yeah. Because it's hard for, it's like, I'm fine if I'm at home in a controlled environment. Like, even how do you deal with a restaurant where they have giant portions? What's your strategy there, right? She broke it down for people. She didn't try to solve their whole nutritional thing in a freebie. She just gave them that very specific 5 days to eating healthy on the road anywhere. You have to go to a gas station. Here you go, right? So it's, super super powerful. So these are just some prompts. So I want us to take a couple minutes, and I want you just to think about what are some of the things that you thought of that person yesterday that you're writing for, and where do they get stuck? What do they complain about? Or what's a piece of their goal? What would create a really compelling win for your ideal person? Okay, so just make a note for a couple minutes, and then if you get some ideas, you can share them in the chat. Okay, I want to hear from a couple people. Okay, so I'm just reading Amy's answer you. 7,500 parents. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're going to see in a minute how you can actually start building your audience, your email list, and getting speaking engagements and media while your book is still being written, even if you're at the beginning. I'll show you some examples of that soon. Sonia, this is so helpful. You have had the parts and pieces, but they were being reassigned now. They were in different categories. Okay, great. So does anyone have an idea or want to just share an idea you have for something that could be interactive, that would be really valuable to your ideal reader so that you can have a further relationship and make sure they get additional transformation? You want to share one? And it's yeah, Heather, go for it.
So for me, I was thinking a quiz of some sort because then that helps them realize like, are they actually ready to make the change? And
Yep.
then, based on whatever they say, then there's, kind of a
I
freebie.
lo-
Hey, try
Absolutely.
these
And I'll
resources.
show you, we have like scripts for this in the club, like those of you, and Heather, you'll have, access to our stuff, but you'll like, there's a way we can word these that makes it really high converting, right? That's really like, oh my, so I think that's great, Heather. And you could have them even assess where are they in the stages, since
Yeah.
Heather's book gives them like these stages of your business as like equated a little bit to like when you're raising children. And so that could be, yeah, it's like Heather, kind of where are you and what's your next step kind of idea. Yeah, I think that's really worth it. Yeah, Sonia, let's hear your idea.
Okay. So I guess this is my first version of this. Um,
Hmm.
but I think because I'm looking at the corporate clients,
Hmm.
um, what I ran into a lot before I stopped doing this for a while was if it wasn't a C-suite that resonated with an article and hired me, and it was more like middle management or the wellness people who were about to get
Hmm.
fired and all that kind of stuff, it didn't translate.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't get hired unless it was someone who could just spend the money and it was done and no conversation had to happen. Does that make
Got
sense?
it. Yep.
Yeah. And there's a big opportunity for me there, which is to give those people the ability to justify based on spreadsheets, benefits, and a story
Hmm.
to the leadership to invest in their human capital by revealing the big picture and long-term impact on the organization's bottom line, which is the numbers.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
I think there's a big market there for me, which I was always tapped into, and they would always either leave the organization or their department got like canceled. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm sure you feel
Yeah.
that pain.
Yes.
But so I'm just looking, and the work I've done with women, which was helping them understand their timeline, and the question, is it really an illness or is it an injury? And is it a series of injuries over decades that lead to this outcome after 40,
Mm.
right? That was all my mental health stuff. So I feel like what was my woman's workshop, which was a timeline builder
Hmm.
to understand your own story and your life makes sense to you, which lifted the apathy and the self-blame to actually take action, right?
Right.
Very powerful workshop. But I feel like helping people build their own timeline in a story and then be able to see the timelines, which I did in consulting for leadership, to understand the timelines in their company of their employees based on the outcome of the benefits,
Hmm.
which was like, if there was a genius in my work, it kind of was that. I
Hmm.
told them who worked for them based on their benefit usage without knowing anything about their demographics.
Okay.
Okay. If people can build their own and build the typical timelines operating in their organization based on benefit numbers and show where the interventions are, if they can just kind of do that on their own and understand it themselves and translate that to leadership, I feel like, and their own story, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. That might be a little bit too advanced and maybe it needs to be simplified, but I feel like understanding your own story and then seeing the big picture of the stories of the people working for you.
Yeah, I think you'd position it something almost like,
Yeah.
I think for that to be like really translatable in their mind, almost like they're their organization's archetype, their story archetype? Is it a, like I think those convert really, really well in the market. Well, I don't think I know. I've actually analyzed the shit out of it.
Okay. Great.
So I can tell you right now, they do. So yeah, I think you're on the right track, Sonia. And then we'll talk more in VIP. But I think that's great. Yay, I love that. Okay, but you've identified the thing, so that's the important part. Okay, Tiffany, what was your idea?
Um, okay, first, my mind is blown right now,
Oh,
Sarah.
I love it. Yay. We love a
Uh,
good mind blow on a Thursday or whatever day is
yeah,
Wednesday.
I'm like,
Wednesday.
how simple to add something like this, or even to add a QR code in the book.
Hmm.
Like, that is just so simple and so overlooked. So I use ChatGPT, of course.
Yeah,
And thank you for the prompt with, what is the question you get asked the most, or what is like the
right.
bottleneck? And for my work, it's externalizing.
Mm.
So I do large scale team transformation inside of startups and fortune companies. And when I do these half day sessions and we take a break, people come up and they want to talk to me directly, not ready to share publicly with the team.
Yep.
Always, when I hear them talking, they're talking about what's going on in the company, on the team,
Mm,
leaders. And it's really, I understand that looking at self has not yet happened or occurred.
yeah.
So creating that. So AI, ChatGPT came up
Yeah.
with a momentum mirror like
Nice.
worksheet,
Yeah.
which is,
Worksheet. Yeah.
well, I'm not even going to go through it, but
Yeah.
it's just a simple thing, but just the tactic here to
Hmm.
add something to pull
Yeah.
them in,
Yeah.
the value add, like our whole fun
Yes.
with freebies and things like that.
Yes.
It's just like, why not in the book? This is such an opportunity. And if
Yes.
anyone is familiar with Brene Brown's book, she has a whole free library of things that are in her book as well.
Exactly. And this is what you'll see everybody doing now, Tiffany. You're going to see it everywhere. We started testing this in 2019. And that was right at the first time when like Tony Robbins started doing it. Like he would put a QR code and the conversions for our clients and for my own books when we started it like intentionally. Because before it'd be like, oh, well, people read my book and they'll find me and they'll figure out, no, they won't. No, they won't. They don't have time. They have 2.9 second attention span. They need like scan phone, get resource. Okay, it needs to be that fast. So, yay, Tiffany. I'm so excited for you to have this. Awesome. Amazing. Okay, you guys, so let's keep going, right? This is just one way. All right, this is just one way that you can think about it. So let's look at some more ways because everyone's unique. It's kind of like some of us can eat gluten and some of us can't. Some of us can have, fill in the blank, right? And so I want to give everybody something to be thinking about that can be revenue generating with your book. Okay. Now, remember, none of this works. None of this works if we do not have some way they can get the resource you're talking about for free, but they have to give their name and email to get it, right? Some of you already know this because you run businesses and you do this kind of work, but I will tell you, I've had at least 100 people, I kid you not, say to me, well, I just want to put it on my website. No, it won't work because if someone goes to your website and just downloads it, that's wonderful and you have added value, but you cannot be in a relationship with that person. You never get to follow up if they use the resource. You can't answer their questions if they got stuck in the resource. You can't serve and support them and invite them to other things. So, no, 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 no. Okay. That's just like what I rarely say no nos to anything, but that is one. This is essential. If you're going to do anything, do not bother unless you're going to make sure that they give their name and email first. Okay. And if you don't know how to do this is what we can help you with. Like come and train with us so we can put this together and give you the scripts and the templates. Amy's training alone on how to build your book portal, like what we're talking about now, that she helped put together for the pieces of it. It's worth it's worth like you're in the program. Okay. So here, this is language. Find out in less than 5 minutes if you are blank with this online quiz. What goes in the blank? Ready to write your book, ready to, change the culture in your organization, ready to have greater profitability. Like you can put in the benefit of your work. Receive a custom strategy straight to your email so you can what? Scale, double your income this year. Be a better parent in less than 5 minutes a day. Take your marriage from struggling to 10 out of 10, like whatever, right? So I just want to show you this is an example of like so many exact wordings that we will give you. Okay, exact words. This is the exact words to make this high converting. This is not like just this. I want you to like see the groundedness of this. We can't just slap a QR code and expect someone, even if it's that easy, even if it's just scan code, get thing, it still needs to be positioned. To put P in the chat if this is making sense to you, is like the positioning has to be so clear. Less than 5 minutes. If you're ready for this, so that you can this, it matters. This is the difference again between a couple people opting in and everyone opting in. Okay, so when I was giving, I do this for speaking as well. Like you can use your same thing you put in your book when you give talks. And so I knew one of the places a lot of people I work with get stuck is like they don't know where to reach out for speaking. They want to be a speaker, they want to go out and share about their book topic on stage. They don't know how to figure it. Is that true for anyone here? Put T for true if that's you. It's like I don't know where to even. I just know I'm supposed to go. I want to go speak. I feel called to speak. I see myself on a stage, but I don't know how to do that, right? That was a huge block for so many people. And so I created this we teach this in the club in our programs, the 6-step pitch. And it has booked me over 500 talks and podcasts and double digit thousands, at least 2,000 plus for people that I've coached. And people book a talk within 24 hours. Like it walks you through exactly what to say. It's like a template like this, but for booking a speaking engagement. You'll all get it if you're coaching with us. And so when I give a talk about speaking, right? And I say to the audience, I tell a story about, how I built this for our clients because they wanted to go speak. They're brilliant. They just didn't know how to figure out where and how to position themselves to get a yes. And I say, I have this thing that usually books people a talk within 24 hours because it really does. We trace it, we track it. And how many people in the audience say they want it? I say, I'm going to give that to all of you for free. Here's the QR code, right? I went from having like maybe 5 people follow up with me from a talk to 95% of the room will opt in for that resource. And then I can find it. Did you use it? No, I feel scared. Okay, then it's a mindset thing. Hey, come to this workshop. I'll help you with that. I can help you break through. I don't want you to get stuck. Okay, so I just want to show you the difference. This is the lightning bug and lightning thing again, Mark Twain. We can't just also just like slap a thing. So many people make it so complicated. Get my 54-page workbook. It's just like, it's too much for people. But it's like, if I can find out in 5 minutes if I'm blank, what's my brand archetype, my leadership thing, whatever, and receive a custom strategy so I can increase my bottom line revenue by 10% in the next 30 days, I'm clicking on that if I'm in the business world. Okay, so put got it in the chat if this is resonating with you guys. Like we see the difference between it's not just like general, it's like this is back to that specificity. So people really understand it's like, oh, this is worth me putting in my name and email and I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, awesome. You guys are amazing. All right. And if it doesn't make sense and it feels like I'm going wah 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 wah, that's cool too. Like the peanuts, like wah 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 wah. Just come in the VIP room, come and train with us so we can, go deeper. Because if you haven't been in the entrepreneur world, this might feel very overwhelming and confusing. It was to me at the beginning. All right. Now, let's say you have many resources you want. How many? Put many in the chat. Those of you that are like, well, I have a quiz, but I also would like to give them a guided visualization. And I'd actually like to be able to give people like a recipe. And I'd like to be right. So some of us have many things. Now, the way to not have that be overwhelming is to do what Tiffany just said Brene Brown did. You're going to create a book portal. Okay. And now Amy and I are just working on the first book app. Okay. You can even make it an app, which is what we have for my new book. All right. So a book portal, what does that look like? All right. So Vishen Lakhani, the founder of Mind Valley, if you've heard of that company, Mind Valley, he did this for his book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Right. When you do, and Brene Brown did it in her book, you can go through one QR code or one website link and you can get access to many things. He had meditations. He had some worksheets. He had different things. And I liked this book. And I was like, I do want those guided meditations. I do want the worksheet. Thank you very much, Vishen. I am going to go and sign up for this. Okay. It was all free. So when I was coming out with the Science of Getting Rich for Women, did the same thing. Name, email, phone numbers, optional, was not required. And when people put those quick things in, took less than 2.9 seconds, they entered the world of the book. And so they were able to get access to my playlist for like hypnosis. They could go to sleep for the abundance trainings. They could get the worksheets all in one place for the book. They could come on and see like what's coming up on the book tour and come meet up in person. They could meet the women in the stories that I interviewed, the other self-made women millionaires. Like there were all kinds of fun things, but it was like they could just pick what they want. They go into the portal once and they get everything for free, but they don't have to, it's not just like this big long PDF. It's like they just say, all I want is Sarah's playlist. Yeah, you want this for all your books, Miriam? Yes. Yes. And you can do it retroactively. You could do a relaunch. We teach relaunching in the club, and you could do a relaunch and then and your reason for the relaunch is like we now have this whole interactive world, right? So in this book, I had a lot of things I wanted to give people because I really, really, really wanted. Yeah, Miriam, you can relaunch all your books. In fact, I highly recommend it. In the Monetize Your Book Club, we're inviting everyone to relaunch or launch this year, one of the two. Everyone's launching in 26. Okay, so great. All right. So again, where do your people get stuck? What they complain about? What are their goals? These are the ways we keep going back to these prompts to think what we might put in a portal, or if that feels very overwhelming and horrible to you, do one thing and you can still have it be massively successful. All right. So you're going to think about coming out of today, what high value resource, what thing you're going to create, whether it's a portal or you can start in your story bank that we did yesterday. You can start story banking what's going in your portal or your single resource. That can go into your bank because it's part of your book. Okay. So those of you that are going to coach with us, we'll coach you on this. We'll help you. We'll help you think of it. We have templates and trainings for this. All right. Now, where are you going to share this portal? You can create social media posts about your book topics that invite people to this portal even before the book is out. So someone who was saying earlier, I want to do this before my book is out because I'm at the beginning. So is Amanda? Okay, so Amanda, all right. So Amanda Hinman, some of you know Amanda. She's one of our clients. She's awesome. She is a functional medicine practitioner. She wrote this book. She specializes in helping women 40 and up with hormone and thyroid solutions. And she was like, Sarah, I don't want to wait until my book is out to attract clients through this book. Like, what can I do? And she knew her ideal people are mostly on social media. So we created the QR code. She built her portal. The book is not out. She's still writing it. She was still getting it published. And she just, anytime she went on a podcast, anytime she met with a group, anytime someone wanted to talk to her about what she did, she shared the QR code to her book portal. And she not only built an audience for the book to help become a bestseller, but she was attracting clients through a book that wasn't even out yet because the portal's there. So this is where you're going to make your money for your book while you're still writing your book. It's so important because we just saw the numbers. If you work with us, you'll pay a lot less, but wherever you go for hiring an editor and a strategist and these campaigns and business coaching and all of that, you're going to invest some money and you can be having that work for you. Upcoming book. Now you want to be far enough along. I do not recommend, in fact, I don't think it's ethical in my opinion to do this when you're just thinking about writing a book, right? This is like you're all in, you're 100% committed. But those of you that are working with us while you're working on your 90-day book with your coach, you're going to come in the club and you'll be able to, you'll be able to do these things. Okay. So that was Amanda's strategy, right? If you're already speaking, you can monetize your book through speaking. Like I'm just going to run through some stuff. We teach all of this in our program. So if you're training with us, you'll get all the how, but I want to open your minds to like, what are the different specific ways, right? So we know you heard yesterday, Audrey was saying she got booked on podcasts now because she has a book, right? Authors are selected to speak 80% more and paid 80% more to speak than experts without a book, right? That's just the truth. All right. So if you have an upcoming book or once you have your book, you will have more opportunities for speaking. That door will open. So you can charge a flat speaker fee or you can speak pro bono. Those of you that are coaching with us, we did our whole speaking strategy day last week on how exactly to do this, the templates, how to figure out where to speak, how to, do all the 6-step pitch, all the stuff. So you can sell, like you can have them buy a copy. A lot of our clients have the company buy, 300 books for everyone that will be in attendance, and then they get paid for the keynote. Tiffany, that'd be great for you. I'm just looking at you. Heather, you could do that. A lot of you, that I know a little bit about what you're working on. Okay. So this can be like we teach book bundles. So I just want to say there's a speaker version of this, right? And that's a way that your book, both while you're waiting for the book to come out for publication, and I don't know if Adriana's in here. Let me see. I'm not going to show you the whole. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Any of you that really want to open that door of speaking, if you join us this week and come into the 90-day bestseller in the club, then I'm going to gift you the whole speaking curriculum that we did last week. Like, it's really, in like, those of you that were there, some of you were there, it puts together from I want to go speak to exactly how to reach out, position yourself as a speaker, make your, speaker one pager like this so you look like a badass and people want to have you. Okay, so I will because you would have gotten that if you were if you were coaching with us, right? So you can get that. We will give you that. Okay. So Perry Grossman, one of our clients, right? She really wanted to do book to speaking. And so she while the book was still in the process of being published, she was able to reach out and say, my upcoming book, and put the book cover, and then book a lot of speaking engagements that led to her filling her programs. Okay. Donna Kendrick, same thing. Her book came out. She wrote her book in 12 weeks using our 90-day bestseller. And then she wanted to go out and speak. She did some media things. She did some live in-person things. She attracted an investor in her company and generated $500,000 in the first 6 months. Okay. That's before, and then those 3 months after her book came out. Yeah, Tiffany, there you go. You saw it in action. You're like, I'm going to write a book and then yes, that's amazing. Okay. So you can leverage your book to do all these different kinds of speaking, right? And you can get paid anywhere from $500 to over $20,000 if you're doing corporate keynotes. These are just like the rates that people pay. So this is like, how do we monetize? I know, Sonia, you do keynotes. You know this. Okay. You can bundle your book like we talk about. You can do upsells. So you go in and give the keynote and they buy your book and say, I could come in for a quarterly workshop and coach your team, right? Your leadership team or your, particular initiative in your team. These are just like rates and things. Okay. You might not want to go speak at anyone else's group. You might want to host an event on Zoom, right? And you say, my book is coming out. I'm going to take you through. Chris Williams talked about this yesterday. She's like, I want to take people through a 4-session process where they get to do part of the book with me. So her book was the opening point. You're going to come, you get a copy of the book, and you're going to do this 4 sessions. And I forget what she charged. We should have asked her, but she made great money on that. Okay. So you post about your event, you show the book cover, you invite people, whether you're on social media, an email list, wherever your person spends the most time, and you invite them to that event. And this can be a workshop, a masterclass, a book launch party. We teach all the different versions, right? And then they can bundle the book. I've done these for when we launch our books, all kinds of different things. All right. So this is an event that you host. Instead of you going to someone else's place to speak, you host the event, whether it's in person, like I'm showing here, or virtually. So Carol, look who's going to be on in a little while. She did this with her book, her first book and her second book, The Yes Code. So she invited people to a Zoom. She's like, I do not want to be going and pitching. Like, I don't want to do that. It's going to be on Zoom. I'm going to invite people. And she had 1,200 people sign up to come to this. 1,200, and 260 bought her course. Okay, so we talked about book to course. Yeah, that's so great. They're your favorite, Sonia. Okay, I love it, right? You can turn your book into media features like we showed you. You've got it in the club. You'll have we have an AI that will show you how to will write your media pitches based on our system. Okay, so you turn your book into these media features, and those attract clients to you. So I've done a number of different, media things and TV and other types of things when I have books come out. And there was a woman who was like, I saw your interview on it. It was just this like nothing local, whatever show. And she said, I saw your book. I saw you on the thing. I'd like to sign up. There was no call. It was just like, let's work together, because you've already done that trust ascension with the person. They checked you out in your book. They see you on something, right? If those of you that feel excited about, how many of you like the idea of being a topic expert in the media? Yeah, it's really a way to be of service. It's fun and to reach people that aren't on your email list and they aren't on your social media. It's super powerful. Okay. You can share about your book on a podcast that you host. Stephen Bartlett and David Baer have sold millions of dollars off of doing this. They just make a little book commercial. We have the script in the club, the script for your book commercial. We've analyzed them. I told you I'm insane. I'm a crazy nerd person that I go through and analyze all these. David Bayer's was one of the best book commercials I'd seen. So I wrote a template. It's a whole script. You will have it. You'll literally change what he wrote to be about your book, and then you film it on your phone and you're good to go. Okay. So you can make sales that way. So Sarah V has her own cable show. She's one of our clients, right? So she can do book sales and upsells to her events through media. Scott Oldford's colleague of mine. If does anyone train with Scott? He's a quirky guy. He'll be like up in the Pacific Northwest hiking, doing like a business talk on his phone. Like he's fun. Anyway, he didn't even want to host a Zoom event. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna do 4 short videos. They were each a couple minutes long, and I'm gonna give really good value. I'm gonna take people through some of the stuff in my book, but I'm not gonna have them live with me on Zoom. I'm just gonna record them, and then you could get his book at the end or bundle it with his course. Right? He makes 8 figures a year. He's like, I just love to go hike. I want to kind of film these when I'm feeling it. And this is what I did, right? So these are all the different ways that we can monetize based on what you like. This is one of my favorites. This is such an OG move. Okay. You can identify people through LinkedIn or other newsletters, or maybe who was saying they had 7,500 parents that, you have access to, right? You could decide which of those people feel like the most aligned fit for you. And you could take your book and you could I don't think it works as well to just send random people a book. But I think that if you know something about them, you met them in a speaking engagement, you research them on LinkedIn, you're connected or something, you could send them a book with a little handwritten note. My handwriting is terrible now because I don't use it enough. So I would type it, but I would, make it personal. And instead of just shipping the book in a mailer, you ship your book and maybe put the note on a certain page and say, hey, if we work together, this is where we'd start. It's the very first thing we do. And in the first 30 days, what I write about in this section is what we would do together. And here's the result I could see us getting. I would be so honored to support you. Can you imagine you're getting that in the mail? And so one of the attorneys that I know uses this strategy, and she makes $1 million a year just doing this. That's it. She identifies people that could really use her legal services. She writes a very nice personal note, says like, this is where I think an opportunity would be based on like what you've been sharing on LinkedIn. And I'd be honored to do, a consult with you to see if we're a good fit. And if we are, $1 million more a year in her business, using her book, just sending this letter. Now, again, not just here's my book, I wrote a book, but like specifically, and we'll probably do a whole month in the club on this because I haven't really done this the way I want to yet. And we will do it together. All right. If you have a YouTube channel, same thing as a podcast. Myron Golden told me he's making $30,000 a month selling his books on YouTube. Why? He gives value and he's like, hey, the book's available. Here's a link. Super chill. If anyone knows Myron, he's amazing. I've spoken with Myron at some conferences. He is hilarious and badass and so many good things. Okay. But when he told me he was doing $30,000 in book sales a month, I thought, what do I need to pull up a chair? I was like, Myron, I am not saying a word the rest of the night. I am here to learn. Tell me what you know. He was Yoda and I was Luke in Star Wars. And I just was like, let's raise that X-Wing fighter out of this swamp. Like, what are you doing? Okay. If anyone's old enough and knew Star Wars, you can get it. All right. Amazing opportunities. Right? You could have user generated content. Are there people out there reading your book? Those of you that are, have a book or think about this. This story went crazy last year before the Super Bowl. AJ Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles is on the sidelines reading a book. CNN reporters like, what now? What is happening? So they pull AJ aside. Yeah, it's a great book and it's hard. It's a hard book. It's uncomfortable and it's tough and it's great. We read it as a community last January when this went viral. Oh, Myron Golden was this is Myron Golden here. And then this is AJ Brown. So AJ is reading this book called Inner Excellence and the reporter's like, what's going on? And the reporter from CNN is like, do I have it here? I think I have the slide. A star NFL player was seen reading a self-help book during a playoff game. It's now the top selling book on Amazon. So Jim Murphy's book which was like not on a lot of people's radar, suddenly everyone's buying it. Everyone's going crazy. You know, why? Because it wasn't Jim Murphy going, my book's really good and it will help your business be good. It's like a guy going to the Super Bowl between plays is reading his book and he's like, don't bother me. This is what I do. I read this and I go on the field and make the play. I bring it to every game. Isn't that freaking awesome? Who thinks this is awesome? I was like beside myself. I could not have been more excited. So my son plays football and I was like, see, books and football, they go together. You know, I love it. I love it. Okay. So it's super cool. So user generated content, that's the marketing term for this. UGS. No, UGC. User generated content, UGC. Okay. So if you have a book and people are using it in their company and they post about it on their social media, that is now the number one most high converting, besides writing the book yourself. It's the most converting marketing strategy of 2026. Other people using your methodology, using your work and sharing you, not influencer style, not like, I'm Sarah and I love to drink Evian. It's so good. Evian pays me to say this, right? Not that crap. We're talking about a real guy on the sidelines with his career hanging in the balance. Is he taking the team to the Super Bowl? And he's reading the book. And everyone went and bought, including me. I went and bought that book for our clients. I bought it for myself. And then yes, yes, yes. Okay, everybody, Amy, if anyone's trying to schedule with Amy, if you were trying to schedule a call, just know Amy will private message you and then we can put the link in the main chat again if you want to talk about working with us further one-on-one. Okay. Jenna Banks, we've had Jenna come and present in the club and to our clients, right? She's selling 100 to 200 books per day on TikTok. Okay, we're going to do a whole session on this again because we did like a pre-session and there's a lot to it. But this is just if some of you just want to focus on book sales, right? And she showed us her whole playbook and she gifted it to everyone that's going to coach with us. This is your gift. And get her playbook. Okay, so these are like, how is she doing it? What is she doing? She's making over 100,000 extra dollars a year. I know, Tiffany. It's exactly right. I freaking loved it too. Any of us coaches and writers is like, love that. Okay. So many amazing things that we can do. All right. So you want to think about your revenue strategies, right? What of these are most exciting? Which one have you liked the most that we've gone through so far? Why don't you just take a minute and sort of think back in your mind? Do you love the idea of bundling your book in something else? Speaking with your book, doing a book portal? Book two event on Zoom, Rebecca. Yeah, portal and speaking, Deb, portal, Christine. Yep, book event on Zoom. And those of you in the club, you'll see we're going to demo our new download app. So my book comes out in October. It's October 6th, 2026 launch. And we have the beta of the app. It has been Amy and my both exciting adventure and bane of our existence at the same time. But we're beta testing it. You guys that are coaching with us, you're going to get it on Monday to play with. But it's like the world of the book right on their phone. Like no one has to go anywhere. It has the podcast episodes I do about it. It has all the advanced stuff. They can get advanced, like everything's right on their phone in an app. Okay, so you can do all kinds of fun things. Oh, Mary Jo, you wanted to know Scott Oldford. So he spells his name Scott Oldford. He's a character. I like it. I like people who are quirky. All right. Okay. So we have some ideas brewing. We have some things generating. All right. Now, what I want to do next, we're going to do, remember, this is a workshop. It's not just, like lecture style, right? So what I'm going to do is talk to everyone. I'm going to share 3 strategies that have helped me solve the time dilemma. And then we're going to actually do some writing. Okay. So how many of you, T for time if time is a challenge. Some of you have plenty of time. That's not your challenge, but maybe it's even just getting yourself to do the writing. Maybe you have the time, but it's hard to make yourself write. And then some of you maybe feel like I just don't even know where the time is going to come from. So I want to see how many people to see if this is worth us covering today. Okay. It looks like a number of us want to work on the time. Okay, good. It's usually an issue, like I said, of one or the other. Either there is time and it's actually getting ourselves to sit down and write. They call it butt in chair when you're in writing school, butt in chair time. All right. Or we really don't. Like I've worked with single mothers who have 4 kids and 3 jobs. It's just like, where's the time? Right. I have a partner, so I have a husband, so we're raising our son together, but run 2 companies, and there is no time. There's never been any time in these years to write my books. If I waited to have time, I would never have written any of them, right? So now, yeah, you need button chair time, big time. That sounds nicer. All right. So what do we do about that? So I want to share. There's three strategies, and sometimes it's been one of these that created the shift, and sometimes I've needed all three. So I want you, same like we've done in other parts of the workshop, I want you us to be listening, right? We're going to listen for which one, and even better, feel intuitively which one you think could create a breakthrough for you. Okay. So the first one is the time log or the time journal. So how many of you have ever done a food journal or a money journal? So that's where you would write down every single thing you eat or every single thing you spend, because a lot of times we're not super aware of what we're eating or we're not super aware of what we're spending. And time is very similar. In fact, I did a really hardcore, really hardcore program once, and it was like a leadership development, thing. And they had a term called time drunk. And it so resonated with me because it's basically you're like, I don't know where my time went. It's like, and this had nothing to do with using alcohol, right? This was like with money and like with food, we can just be kind of unaware and not even figure out, what did I even do today? What did I even spend money on today? Whatever. Okay. So here's what you do. It's very clear. You're already going to know what you do. You're going to write down, it's going to be so freaking boring, but now you can do it with ChatGPT, which is even much easier, but you're going to log in some way everything you do for, I would give it at least 3 days and maybe a couple more, just because you need kind of, one day could be an anomaly. And so what does that mean? It means 7 to 7:15 shower, 7:15 to 7:30 meditate, 7:30 to 7:45 eat breakfast. I'm just making this up, right? What are you doing with each increment? If you have a job that you report to, you're like, went to my job, from this hour to this hour. But if there's any breaks in that job where you didn't have to be doing stuff for the job, what did you do with that time? Chatted with coworkers in the lunchroom, um, you know, effed around on social media, these things that, went to Target and spent an hour when I could have just gotten this online in 5 minutes, like where there's no judgment. I'm telling you, like, we don't do that in the log. The log is neutral. The log is non-judgmental. The log is just, what did I do with my time? Okay. You're just going to write down every single freaking thing you do. Every single thing. Phone call with my mom, how long was it? Okay. Watch 4 Netflix shows. Right? And what hours to what hours? Okay, Rebecca, thank you. I'm not alone. All right. I love TV. It's really fun. We're not going to take away TV completely at all. We're just going to figure out how to get the writing done. So there's no judgment, no attempt to change, no shaming, no anything, just curious. Like you're an anthropologist studying someone. What does this person do today? Okay? Then when you have it all down, you're going to look at it and you're going to just see if there's anything on there that's less important to you than writing your book. And even more than writing your book is the benefits that you're going to get when your book is done, like all those doors that it's going to open and the lives you're going to change. So I might look at my list and say, wow, I really, a lot of the time have been working, taking care of my son, doing stuff like that's all really important. I'm not going to change any of that. But, did I need to watch 4 shows? Okay. And again, I'm not judgmental. I'm just saying, are the 4 shows more important to me than having a book done and opening these doors? Now, I'm not saying I'm going to not watch any TV, because I like it. It's relaxing to me. It's fun. So I would say I'm going to write for an hour and then I'm going to watch 2 shows instead of watching 4 shows and writing nothing. right? That might be a choice I make after. The beginning, though, we're just analyzing. Okay. Who thinks in your gut that you would discover that there are things that are less important to you than having your book out in the world and the outcomes that you want that you're spending time on? Just like honest truth. And it may not, because some of you might be like, no, Sarah, there's just none. And I'll still help you. I'll still help you find a way. But does anyone think, okay, so Sarah, like me, often there's things, even again, it might be that I just don't have a 45 call with my mother. I have 15 beautiful minutes where I'm really pouring in with mom, and then I write for 30 minutes. Yeah, some of it is we're tired, Sonia, right? Most probably. Okay, so you're going to find out if you do the time log. Yeah, and like you, a lot of times I'm like, there isn't a lot, right? You're working a ton, you're doing things. So then what we get to do is decide, is there some way that I would be able to get up earlier or do something? Is there you and I at certain times where there just isn't a lot actually of discretionary time? The third one will help. Okay, now, then the next one we're going to talk about, you analyze your time if you like that one. How many of you are going to do a time log? Put TL in the chat if you're actually going to do this. You think this is going to be illuminating for you, it will be useful for you. You'll discover something about yourself and kind of where time is going. So some of you are going to try that one. Okay, great. Now, number 2 option. How do you schedule your most important appointments? Like your absolute most important appointments. Okay, in a daily planner, on your phone. Um, do you set alarms? Like if you had a flight, like I'm flying to New York to teach a workshop tomorrow. So I know for me, I'm going to set, an alarm. I'm going to have I have it on my calendar, I have the flight number and the confirmation number, all that stuff, right? Okay. So you have your ways. So what you're going to do then is you're going to look at the upcoming couple days and you're going to decide, like, however I schedule my most important appointments, this is how I'm going to schedule my writing time. Whatever mechanism you do. So if it's a in the calendar plus alarm, you're going to do in the calendar plus alarm for writing time. Yeah, and you could have your writing time on a Teams calendar. If Amy sees it on my calendar, hey Sarah, did you write today? Right? Hey Amy, if I see it on Amy's calendar, did you write today? Right? Yeah. If it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. Heather, me either. It's got to. Okay. So I've told this story a lot of times, but because it was so uncomfortable and awesome. Have anyone ever had a love smackdown? Like someone just kind of had to give you a loving smackdown, like tell you the truth about something? Well, this is one of mine. So I was talking about, I want to do a book and be an author. And I had, this coach that I'd started working with, and she said, awesome, open up your calendar. And I was like, what? And she said, just open it up. Like, what do you, and it was like Google Calendar or whatever. And she said, just open it up. And I kind of knew already this is not going to go well. And I felt like she was inviting me to take my clothes off. And I actually would have preferred if she's like, you could either strip naked or show me your calendar. I'd be like, you know what? I'm good. I go to the gym. Like, I'm meaning like I get dressed in front of the gym, like I don't mind showering at the gym in front of, I don't care. I'm not like nervous about people seeing me. So I would have rather gotten naked. No, she's like, open it up. And we open it up. And she's like, huh. So your most important goal right now is to get this book done. And I do not see a single writing session on this calendar. I said, well, no, because I do, I put my client sessions and my son, appointments for his school. And I do. She's like, yeah, no, I know. She's like, you are in a major integrity breach with your vision. And she was absolutely right. Absolutely right. And then I was wondering why it got the fumes at the end of the day, why there are days I didn't. What happened? It's 9 o'clock. I can't write. Right. It was an ouch, Deb. And it was such a gift. It was such a freaking gift because it really showed me, like, how do I get in alignment with my vision? So I want you to offer to you. It doesn't mean we're definitely going to do it. I still also need an accountability partner, which is something you can consider. Those of you training with us, you will have the opportunity to have an accountability buddy. When I have been the most productive, I have been most prolific, I have made the most money, and I have impacted the most lives are when I do what I call EOD. Tiffany knows this, right? Morning and evening. In the morning, here's what I'm going to do. In the evening, here's what I did. I know, Brandy, it kicked my ass, man. It hurt. That one, I was hurting from that one for a while, right? So what like you can write it in the calendar, but then show someone else that calendar. You want to make sure you get this writing done. You pick someone you don't want to disappoint and be out of integrity with. Because I'll break integrity myself. Clearly I did because I, got called out on it. But it was when someone else knew. I'm not gonna commit to, Anna. Hey, Anna, I'm in this. I'm gonna write also. We're gonna do this together, and then message her day after day and be like, oh, I didn't get around to it. Oh, I watched TV. Oh, I was too tired. Whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to get it done, right? So some of you already have this. If you don't, then make sure you come and train with us so you can get an accountability partner in another person working on this. All right. So that's number two. All right. How many of you are going to try this? You're going to start to schedule your writing time and do it the exact way you would do it for your most important appointments, and then get an accountability partner that knows what you've committed to, that you're going to have to text at the end of the day and say if you did the thing you said you were going to do or not. Even last night, Amy and I accountability partnered on something. We were both like, oh, we've got these outreach, things. And it was like, Amy's like, I'm done. And I wasn't done yet. And I was like, I will not be doing anything else until this is done. So I can text Amy and say, it's done. It's complete, right? It takes it up from a maybe we'll get it done to like, we will get it done. That's right. Olympic level visioning part. Exactly. That's our gold medal. Exactly. All right. So how many of you are going to do this? Put me in the chat if you're going to do strategy too. You're going to start scheduling. Yeah, Brandy, you're with us. You're in 90-day bestseller. We're going to find, yes, yes. Okay. So amazing. Right. And we are bonusing you guys that come in this week. You're going to get to come to our Tuesday power hours when we have them. And you are going to get to write in community. So you can just be like, oh, I'm going to come on Tuesday and I'm going to work on it with the other people working on their books. Yeah. Okay. I have so many more time hacks I can share with you, but I want to give you number 3 because it was such a biggie for me. All right. Number 3 is called the time wedge. You heard me talking about writing wedges yesterday. So what happened is I had this incredibly amazing experience after 2 decades of wanting to be a writer. I finally have a book deal. And it happens at the exact same time that I have my first baby, which you've all heard that story. I've been trying for 7 years to have a child. So these 2 biggest dreams of my life happened at the exact same time. It was such a gift. And also I was terrified because now I'm finally a mother. If you have an infant, if you've raised infants, they don't sleep. You're up every 3 hours and there's just no, that's what you're doing. You're doing that. And I was like, how am I going to get this done? And I met this woman who had 4 children under the age of 5. She had 4 kids in a row. 1 a year for 4 years. She had 5 children under the age of 5. She had no nanny. This was not a Sheryl Sandberg, lean in, staff up, get help. They didn't have any money. She had no help. She had no nanny, no babies, nothing. And she wrote 3 books in a row, never having more than 30 minutes at a time, ever. And that just blew every excuse I had right out the effing window. I had like 1 kid, It was like, what am I saying? What the hell am I talking about? Right? So it blew my excuses out the window. And I started to take back my time. I started to reclaim time that I would throw away because I had the whole, again, I have to have the candle and the meditation and be in the right mood and feel good and do this and then all the conditions, the weather has to be like this and this, just no. Stephen Pressfield, I'm glad Kimberly's laughing with me. Stephen Pressfield calls it going pro. Doesn't mean he don't made out for crap what we feel like. Doesn't matter if we're in a good mood, we slept the night before, you're going to get that writing done. It's so powerful. It's so empowering to break out of. This is where you go from wanting to be a writer to being a published author, right? And so I would just reclaim these pockets of time. The dentist is running late. I have 20 minutes. I'm generating some words, right? When I'd go pick up my son from school, other moms would I get out of the car and be talking. I was not popular at this school. No one liked me at this school. I had the window up. I was like a do not disturb sign. I was like, I am just like, because when I'm with my child, I'm going to be with my child. Like I'm not doing that. Right. So that was the trade-off I made. And I have no regrets at that point. Right. So what is the time? Again, instead of 4 shows, you write for an hour and then you watch 2 shows. Okay. Now I don't let the AI write my book, but I will tell you what I do. I walk every day. Right now, it's negative, 20 with wind chill. So it's very difficult to walk outside. So I go on the treadmill during these. I do as long as I can stand outside, which is usually about 5 minutes. And then I go. But what I do, okay, I'm not letting the AI write my book, but I am dictating sections of my story bank into written form. Okay. I say to the AI, do not change my words, do not alter, do not edit, do not do a single thing, but I'm going to dictate and just complete my sentences and put it in so that I'm not working I'm not working on a first draft, I'm already working on a second draft. And I wrote 2 books just doing that. This new book, I've done a lot of seated writing because it's a very different kind of book and there's a lot of research, and that's why I didn't do it in 90 days. But the books I've done in 90 days and under, and these books have won awards, these books have generated many 6 figures in income for our attracting amazing people to work with us. All those good things happen with it. Yeah, I did it with ChatGPT. And I would say you are just a transcriber. You have to tell it, like, don't, because it'll try to, like, oh, would you like, no, don't do, because I don't want it writing any of my stuff. But I just go in there and I will take something from my story bank. And I do this when I'm driving. If I'm going to, pick someone up at the airport, I'm getting parts of that book done. Okay. It's super, super, super powerful. And and what we can create and what we can do in terms of expediting. Because Anne, I was like you, the last time inventory I did, I was like, I'm kind of effed. Like I'm not effing her. I'm not on social media. I'm not, yeah, I'm getting my groceries delivered. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't having any discretionary time and I didn't know how to get it done. And so I figured out, because I am someone who moves every day, that's just for my mental health and physical health, it's non-negotiable. So I was like, okay, I get to habit stack these together. And this is how we collapse time and create time. All right. So obviously, these are just examples. You can do anything you want, but I'm telling you, this is how I was able to get things done when there was no time. And these little like pockets of time that we think, oh, I'll just scroll social media, I'll just zero out my inbox, I'll just whatever, steal them back. Take them back. You get to take those back because you will move your book forward. And this is how you can get a book done even when there's no time, because you will be able. Now, how do we make sure, we talked about this yesterday, how do we make sure though that when we have 20 minutes in the dentist's office that we actually can get anything productive done? Because in the shower in the morning, or as you brush your teeth, or whatever your morning thing that you always do no matter what, you're going to, in your mind already, decide, today in my writing wedge, this is what I'm going to do. So you want to do one right now? All right, we're going to do a 10-minute writing wedge. Okay, so I'm going to go for 10 minutes. We're going to go from now till quarter to the hour. I just want us to try it out. Just if you get one sentence, it's one more sentence than you would have done otherwise. Okay, ready, set, go. I won't put music so that we can have real focus. And we're just going to write for 10 minutes.
This feels too tight, bub. Is this too tight on you? Hmm.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go for 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes. You're doing amazing. Keep it up. Okay, start to wrap up your wedge. Starting to wrap up your wedge. See what you got done. Come on back to the main group. All right, amazing, guys. If you can come on camera, if you turn it off for the writing, come back on so we can celebrate each other. That was so good. So let's do a stretch, deep breath in and out. Give yourself a shake. Give yourself some love. Let's give each other some high tens. Where are my emojis? Let's do some hearts, some balloons. Okay, look, that was just a few minutes. Who generated something? Like you didn't go check email, you didn't just get on your text, you did. So put me, if you got one word, you got one sentence, you got one idea. Yes. Okay. Do we see that in just a few minutes you can make progress on your book? And we just in our mind says, oh, what's the point? I don't have an hour. I don't have a room of my own. I don't have a cabin in the woods. I'm not a man who has servants. And you hear these guys in the 1800s, they were like, oh, I love writing. I write for the morning and I go for martinis. And then, they had a wife, a staff, a whole, like that's not most of our lives. Right. And so, but we can do it anyway. We will do it anyway. And you now are doing it anyway, right? So, way to go. All right. Do you feel proud of yourself? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, Jeff, if it works and you can swing it, then do it, right? It's just if we don't have that, we still get Sarah, you feel chuffed. I love it. I love our UK friends. So I promised you all that you get to say hi to Carol. We were talking earlier about Carol looks gonna join us here, or it has joined us here, is gonna share a little bit because we wanted to see kind of what happens on the other side, right? And Carol, we were talking today about our monetizing our books and actually using our books to attract people to, whether it's speaking, bundling it with a program or a course, all the different things. You've done many, many of these strategies. You have written two best-selling books, back-to-back bestsellers in your series of three. How many of you are doing the series? Because I know a bunch of you said there's like multiple books you're thinking of. So first of all, please help me welcome Carol and give her your love so that we can learn from her brilliant and amazing example. Carol, hold on, I'm just going to pull you up where I can see you better. Here we go. Carol and I are actually teaching an in-person event in New York tomorrow and through Saturday. So this is especially generous, Carol, with all that you're preparing as I fly in. Thank you for joining us, and we're so excited to see you.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here. You know how much I love the writing program with you.
Yes. Well, it's so you can see, Carol, I showed everyone your book earlier. So you have Yes Code is the first one, everybody. That was the one that Carol launched first. You did this training. You did this exact curriculum. You wrote your books in about 90 days. You hit back-to-back bestseller. Obviously, the first one didn't scare you off enough. You did number two. You're going to write number three. So tell us a little about, like, what did you have any reservations? Like when you thought about writing a book, were you excited? Did you think it'd be easy? Did you think it'd be hard?
I knew it would be hard and it was a matter of time, but it was your system that where everything clicked. So I need clarity, right? And I need results. And I did your boot camp and I started and it started to click, 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 click. I started to see how I could do it because I'm somebody who needs the whole day to write or a
Yeah.
week to clean a closet or whatever.
Right.
The writing wedges was really important, but the whole system, your S1, S2, S3 changed everything. I think you were able to organize it for me. So it was not easy, but simple. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how you do it. Oh, thank you, Sarah. 1, 2, 3. Oh, is that how you do it? Oh, and then there are assets for after the book, for the back of the book. Like you provide everything. And it was like, oh, okay. I've never been provided it before. Slap things together in manuals or whatever. And it's just not the same thing. It is not the same thing. So you had every piece offered. So we had a question, we would ask and we'd get the pieces. So
Yeah.
it was and it became fun. I mean, the writing wedges, I have 1,000 notebooks with scribbles, pages and little pieces of paper all over the place. But when it hits you, there's no stopping you. When you get,
Yeah.
this is a good, oh, that's what I want to make. Oh, that's the point.
Yes, because you had been story banking. That's what, kind of like using, but it was like, okay, but how do and that was for me, the structure was what was keeping me stuck. Where do I put it? How do I organize it? And then what to do after. And Carol, you're such an incredible model for us. So everyone, if you don't know Carol's work, many of you do, but Carol's a renowned, trained as not trained, you are a master psychotherapist and one of the pioneers of, emotional freedom technique, tapping. If any of you have done that, we'll do some in the VIP room today, I'm sure, because we all could use some tapping. So Carol, you help people have success breakthroughs. You help them have money breakthroughs. You help them have relationship breakthroughs, health breakthroughs, because you're working on the subconscious mind. And that's why you and I love teaching together, because I know it's essential to me. I don't even think of it as a nice to have. If I want to make the impact in the world I want to make, if I want to make the revenue I want to make, like I have to do the subconscious work. And you are an absolute, like people call themselves master teachers. Carol is a master teacher. She channels this work. So Carol, Yes Code gives people the first, like, here's how to use tapping and get to your yes, because people have, Carol teaches a lot, the yes buts, right? And so we have these, yet like, oh, I want to have a book, yes, but I'm not a writer, I don't think I'm good enough. And you knew all the things. Did you use that technique of thinking about the things everyone asks you and gets stuck on, and then you kind of put that in the book?
That, and because it was about self-sabotage, right? Why are you getting in your way? And we are wired for safety, not for success. So that's why everybody has success issues. That's why everybody procrastinates, because we're scared. And of
Yeah.
course, I was my first guinea pig and first
Me
model
too.
because I had every single reason to procrastinate and every single
Yeah.
self-sabotage behavior.
Yeah.
So I was the guinea pig, but all my clients would come in and say, I really want this, but I'm in my way. And they would
Right.
have a million different behaviors or things they're doing. So
Yeah.
I had to get through mine. Of course, that
Yeah.
gave me incredible experience and success and change.
Yeah.
Right. And then I just kept helping and helping and helping. And I
Yeah.
teach conferences, I teach all over the world. So it was a lot of fun because in any language, right,
Yes.
it's the same thing. We get
Right.
And so we get in our own way.
The universal language of self-sabotage, right? There's a universal language of love and the universal language of our resistance. So put an amen in the chat if you know you've got some yes buts. We're going to address these in the VIP room today in a little bit too. And we're going to do a somatic practice that work. And then Carol, the second book is The Superpower of Gratitude. It's using tapping and the science of gratitude because it is a science, it is a causative energy. It will change your life. And
So,
yeah,
both gratitude and tapping have outrageous research behind them. Now, the
right,
first 20 years of tapping, there was no research.
right.
Now, in the last 10 years, it's been coming out. And it's the same thing. Like if you read the research, it will wow you. Like, why am I not using to rewire my brain? Why am I not using gratitude
Yes.
to change my vibrational state and get what I want? So I combine
Yes.
them and I combine how to do the gratitude with the tapping because a lot of people do a gratitude list and
Right.
feeling it, right? So, and I had to also talk about sabotage, which is why
Yeah.
would you do something that has been proven scientifically to change?
Right. Yeah, extend your life even. If those of you that read the gratitude research, you actually live longer, doing these practices. So it's absolutely incredible. So Carol, I'm so excited because your books brought us together, like us, our exact process we're talking about here is how we met and we get to teach together, which is so exciting. You're going to write your third bestseller soon and you've already got these two. What happened? I was sharing with people how you did not feel like running all over the place for your book launch and you were like, I'm gonna be on Zoom, invite people on Zoom, and let people know. So that was your book launch was on Zoom, and tell us about like why you chose to do it that way and what happened.
A book tour is not my thing, right?
Right.
I just don't want to do any more traveling. So I sent to my newsletter list. I'm not on Facebook, everybody. I
Yeah.
went to a newsletter list and said, free party. Hey, and I'm going to give away this and give away that. And 1,500 people signed up. And no, they didn't all come live, but now they all
Sure, of course.
had the link. So I had several hundred live and it was just fun. I was so excited. I was giving a shout out to you and to my editor and to, the company the publishing company. I was just so excited. And then that turned in, I helped them. Then I gave them an upsell. Like, you guys want to join me for 3 weeks of tapping? Let's do this. Right. Yeah. Then I sold the book at a conference. I've been to that conference millions of times over the last 2 decades. And the guy said, oh, you sold all your books. Yes, I did, because it's fresh and it's new and I was excited about it. My energy was all excited about it. I don't do things traditionally, but you can still monetize it and you can still get it out there. And it's like you're calling, people don't carry around cards anymore. They carry around their book.
Right.
Here, if you want to know anything about my work, skim the book.
Here it is.
Have to
What's been a highlight moment, like a peak experience for you of going, because it's not easy, right? You run a practice, you live in New York City, there's a lot going on, you have a full life, you've got this amazing, you're sort of the organizer of your whole family, all the family functions and nieces and nephews and all the things. So what's been a highlight experience for you?
Last May, I went to Australia to teach a workshop with the big researcher there. And I was off the plane, overdressed because it was freezing cold on the plane, put my books with the hotel, walked on the beach because we were in this beautiful place. And a woman came up to me and said, are you Carol? Look, she said, I've just read the Yes Code and it's changed how I work with every single one of my clients in my entire private practice.
Oh,
and I thought, okay, all right, that's good. That works. Because that's the point. Is
right?
I want to help people I want to help people change, help other people change, and just feel more satisfied in their lives. I don't care if relationship change, work change, money change, body change. Yeah. I don't care what part. It's the same process. We get in our way because we're scared.
Yeah, of course. We also who can resonate with this? I know a lot of you said, "Yep, I have the yes buts and the amens." Yeah, how many of you? One of the reasons you're writing your book is to have a moment like that, where a reader emails you or comes up to you on a beach or on a plane or in a hallway and says, "Oh my God, Carla, Miriam, Renata, I read your book and it changed my life." Right? I mean, that is it's so big because all of you here are doing this like mission. You're doing it for a reason. It's not just like, oh, bucket list, I wrote a book. You're doing it to like Carol's saying, help people. Carol, I'm so excited because like you said, you've done book bundles. When you speak, people buy the book. You host your own events. You didn't want to run around and do a million social media posts and whatever, and you don't have to. Like, this is why I want everyone to hear from different people over the last day or two, my experiences, other people's, Carol's, Audrey, Chris, like, you get to find your way. That's the point, is what brings you alive, what lights you up. Carol, you're so great. You love being in a room with people. You love, being on Zoom. You don't want to make your life complicated and insane. And
I did tons of podcasting
that's right.
for both books, and that's really fun because then you talk to totally different audiences you would never get to. So
Right.
that was something that was really worth it for me. Again, other people, if you want to, do a tour of the country, great. I don't.
Yeah, you're like, no, thank you. So I love, so people were asking, has it generated revenue to you? Like, if you think about, like, because you again bundled, it's book sales plus people joining your programs plus people doing private work with you. So anything you want to say about revenue generation?
It absolutely has generated revenue, certainly in book sales. I don't keep track. I get every month, I get something from Ingram Spark. It's the prestige of it, if that's the right word. It's like people saying, "Oh, you have a book? Let me see. Oh, you have a book? Oh, I got asked to be a version of a keynote speaker at a conference I've been going to for years."
Right.
When the CEO said, "You have a book? Oh, okay. You have a book? Oh." So that's where it parlayed into a speaking engagement, meeting other people saying, "Oh, you have a new book out? Oh, let me see your book." That's where
Right.
so I can't add up the money that I've made in books. I have, absolutely. It's not
Yeah.
my source of income.
Right. Because and the book, like when you did your book launch and had like 250 people join your course, then you can measure that really, it's very linear because it's like they came to the book event, they joined the course, you made whatever tens of thousands of dollars off, whatever, people invest. But then there's there's the things that are, I don't know how many directly people saw me speak around the book and then later join the email list and later come more, we can't measure everything, but certainly, you can measure the amount of people joining a course off your Zoom. Like that part you can measure. Yes. Yeah.
It's so thrilling to get it out of your head and onto paper. So I can tell you, it is so thrilling. And a lot of people know how to tell people to write books, but what's different, I think, about your program is the trustworthiness. There are plenty of people who are intellectually able to teach you how to write a book. Your
Yeah.
system, after all my years in the field, your system spoke to me, and I signed up right away. So the combination of your kindness and your availability and your uniqueness and your intelligence and your trustworthiness is made the difference for me. And you can imagine how many people have pitched to me, "Hey, Carol, write a book with my company." Can you imagine?
Yeah. Like daily. Right.
So I vote. I voted with my feet and my writing and my computer and my checkbook, and
Yeah.
I wanted to work with your team and you and the whole system, and it has been obviously very successful.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we'll physically be in the room. I know some of you who are here are going to, Anne's here. I know some of you else we're going to be together tomorrow. It's like so exciting. And Carol, thank you. Thank you for taking some time as you're preparing for all the people to fly into New York and be together. And I'm so excited for what happens next. And I want to hear in the chat what you identified with Carol's story. Everyone, we're going to go over in a minute to the VIP room. Carol, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. So awesome to see you.
Thank you for your program. Thank you, everybody. Love seeing you.
So good to be together. So what resonated? You can either do I am one with that if you want to have 1,500 people come on a Zoom with you or register if you want to have speak in Australia and have your book sell out. Like you can do it I am one with that, or you could do something maybe Carol said that struck you. Oh, I thought I would have to be on social media and I hate social media and I don't want to. What? Yeah, doing it her way, getting out of the head. Deb's like, I'm one with all of it. Sarah's programs were, well, I'm just so grateful. It's just like, Carol, the only reason any of these programs are here is because I kept getting stuck and I would want it so badly and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't do it without frameworks and structures and support. And yeah, you wouldn't mind speaking in Australia. Deb's like, I'm so stuck. You guys, that's what, so listen, we're going to go to VIP for those of you joining us. If you want to join us and continue this and get some coaching today, please feel free to use the link and you can get into the VIP room. You just need to get the link from Michelle if you can drop that again. Yeah, Sonia, it's another book to get you where you want to go. Everyone check your direct messages in the chat because if you had a question for Amy, she answered you there. And Amy, if you'll drop your link again for anyone that wants to talk one-on-one, if you don't have time to come to VIP or you don't want to do that, you just want to talk about how we can work together, how if it's the 90-day bestseller program for you, joining that with the club, any questions like that, absolutely just book a time to talk to Amy if you can't come to VIP. And we will make sure to answer any of your questions you have. You're all going to get the replay from today. You'll get the workbook again. You will get the links for joining us together. We're going to keep the bonuses open. So remember, instead of paying $20,000, which is what we've sold these programs for many times, you can do them for 6,000 for the book only or bundle that with the club for 7. And you're going to get to actually come in and have those Tuesday sessions with us. So those are even extra outside of the club and whatever. We're going to do write-ins like we do here. Okay. So we're going to have that for you over these next 90 days. It's going to be really powerful. And then we'll have a whole year together in the club. And I'm so excited to continue the journey with you all. You've come this far, right? I always say the universe didn't bring me this far to leave me here. Right. So we're so excited. Whatever, if this resonated with you, then we're going to continue together and we wish you so much success. We're going to envision all the good things. And those of you that are working with us, we're going to be doing it together over these next months. It's going to be awesome. I will see you in VIP in a minute, or we will see you in 90 Day Bestseller or the club. Bye, you guys.